although it never appears in the high sky, even if it's stuck in a ditch that no one can see. If you want to shine, if you still nurture a ray of light within you, then that thing is definitely a star. That is Vlad, who always rises from the ruins, like a star always shining. At night, in a small alley, a young man stood intently looking at a sword propped up outside a blacksmith shop. "It was Vlad," he exclaimed. "No matter how many times I look at it, this thing is still truly beautiful." Right behind him, someone approached and scolded, "I knew you'd be distracted again." It was a young girl about his age, standing with her arms crossed, sighing. "Jemina," the girl asked, "Hey Vlad, do you know you've been very distracted lately?" He retorted, "Don't bother me anymore. I rarely get to rest." She informed him, "Oh, is that so people are talking behind your back because you keep wandering around idly like this?" Vlad didn't believe it. What are they saying? Jemina glanced around to see if anyone was nearby, then leaned in and whispered in his ear, "Do you still hear those voices when you hold things like a piece of firewood?" He didn't answer, but seeing his reaction, she knew. "Ah, what sin did you commit in your past life?" E. How can there be thunder and lightning in a clear sky like that, and it's even a black lightning bolt? It turned out Vlad was experiencing a very mysterious phenomenon. He would occasionally be suddenly struck by lightning. She advised him, "Just stay inside the shop. They say the new bishop is very sensitive to signs like that. He was promoted from being an investigator of heresy, so if he sees even a small sign, you'll be burned at the stake immediately." He swore, "Damn it, don't say such unlucky things." But she only said that because she cared about him. "It's funny I'm worried about you and you're still annoyed." She told him the truth so he could be careful and hide it. "Do you think only one or two people saw you get struck by lightning? Everyone is gossiping behind your back, so don't just stand there dazed. What if you're targeted and taken to the church?" Vlad didn't think he would suffer such a fate just for this. "I won't be dragged to the church just for looking at a sword." She was helpless. "So tiring. Buy it on credit." "You seem sad. It's very expensive." Jemina sneered. "How expensive can things sold at a blacksmith shop in a small alley be? How much want me to buy it for you?" He quoted the price, 5 gold coins. Jemina heard the price and cursed. "Are you crazy?" She grumbled, "Go of 5 gold coins for that piece of scrap metal. With that much money, I'd rather—" Before she could finish, he knew perfectly well, "I know you'd eat and party for a whole year with that money." Suddenly a voice scolded the two of them. "What, that piece of scrap metal? You scoundrels get lost. This isn't something scoundrels from the back alley like you can afford." It turned out to be the old owner of the blacksmith shop in this slum. Jemina retorted, "Then who would buy it? It's hung in the back alley. Only people from the back alley can see it." "Are you senile, old man?" Being called senile, he became even more furious. "What's senile? Look what these scoundrels are saying." Not stopping there, she added fuel to the fire. "Why do you cause trouble by making a sword only knights can use? You're going to die soon anyway." The old man shouted, "Yes, it's because I'm about to die, you brat. Go back to your shop and wash dishes. You failed, brats." Jemina, being called a brat, yelled back just as fiercely, "Brat? You call me a brat? I'm a grown woman." Seeing the tense situation, Vlad patted her head and pulled her away. "Don't cause trouble for no reason, Jemina. We're leaving." She had no choice but to go. "Ah, let's go. Did I say something wrong?" Behind them, the old man was still shouting, You're not going to stop, are you?" Watching the two leave, the old man was still fuming. That wretched girl, she never experienced hardship, and now she's become so spoiled. At this point, he suddenly remembered Vlad and Jemina as children, shivering in the cold and hunger. "You don't know how much food I gave you back then. The damn dogs." Suddenly looking down at the ground, the old man noticed where Vlad had been standing. "It seems that boy stood here for a long time again. The mud has sunk like this. He should only be thinking about making a living." The old man felt a bit bitter. This boy finding ambition in a place like this is really difficult. I know very well someone born in the back alley will never escape from here. Holding the sword, the old man was both resolute and regretful. "So I will only sell this sword to someone who can escape from here. I can't let my final masterpiece rot here." Looking back, it's very similar. Although it's in a ditch like this, something is still shining on its own. It is the center of the northern economy combined with the prestige of the Bayezid family, the lighthouse of the north under that brilliant light. Surely there is a darkness obscured by the light. Suara, a slum where all filthy and ugly things exist, is that darkness. This place is filled with dregs and sin. In a tavern, an argument was taking place. A drunken man grabbed a woman by the hair, dragging her while cursing. "You bitch! You should have just swayed your hips in silence. Who are you trying to trick here?" The girl denied. "What did I trick you with?" He didn't believe her. "I've been a merchant for 20 years. Are you selling me opium that has no effect at all?" Just as he dragged her downstairs, someone passed by and sighed, "There's never a peaceful day." It was Vlad who was selling candles inside. The man, taking his anger out on an innocent party, said, "Ah, right, the candle seller, perfect timing. Go find the madam." Vlad said contemptuously, "If you want to see our madam, you have to bring gold, not silver." The drunkard roared, "The service here is so bad, and you still. Daramarned gold. If the madam isn't here, bring your mother or whoever here. Quick." Vlad didn't comply with his Daramarned. Unable to order him around the man, Then Bayzide Leslie accused Vlad, the candles you sell are a scam, right? What kind of candle burns out as soon as the wick is lit? You. What do you expect from a 5-minute candle? If you don't have money, stay home and play with your wife. Vlad wasn't fazed. He shrugged as if it were obvious, even sneering at the man for demanding things without money. Hearing those contemptuous words, the man got angrier. What did you just say? Vlad wanted to clarify. Goodness, so annoying. Do you want to check? He pointed to the large clock in the tavern. Do you see that clock over there? Let's see if this candle can burn for 5 minutes. Vlad seemed extremely pleased. If it doesn't burn for 5 minutes, you can do whatever you want with the woman behind me. He bristled. Why should I listen to a scammer? Falsely accused of being a scammer, Vlad sternly said, as if giving an order. I said do it. But if it burns for 5 minutes, then you esteemed customer will be beaten to death by me. Seeing that look in his eyes, the man was terrified and didn't dare to object. How dare a brat? Vlad took a match and started lighting the candle. Flicker. Who's the scammer now? The man was terrified, his face trembling. Time passed. Everyone below was also watching intently, eager to see the outcome, who would beat whom. After a while, the candle went out. The man quickly turned to look at the clock, but he was too stupid. He hadn't noted when it started, so now he didn't know if it had been 5 minutes or more. Damn it, how many minutes was that? A very endearing voice called out, Esteemed customer. Instantly, his face met the folding chair, and he lost his balance, falling backward. Vlad coldly announced, It's been 5 minutes, you scoundrel, while raising his foot, intending further interaction. He kicked him again in the back, making him cry out. The man was beaten continuously, but he was too fat to fight back. At this point, he even fell flat on his face on the floor. Vlad closed the door to the room and coldly declared, Today you die. The man, terrified, quickly waved his hands. Wait, thinking his pleas for mercy would work. He was wrong. You were the scammer first, so don't ask why Vlad is hitting you again. How can you be a merchant and be so fat? Vlad growled, And what you told me to bring my mother. You're making me sad because I don't have a mother. His painful screams echoed mournfully through the night until someone finally said, Stop. Only then did Vlad relent. The next day at the tavern, Vlad, while eating breakfast, said, I think someone tampered with the candles. They couldn't burn for more than 5 minutes. Not hearing a reply, he turned and asked, Do you understand, uncle? He had to repeat, Jorge, someone is sabotaging our business. Do you understand? Jorge heard, but responded with silence, eating while feigning understanding. Contrary to that attitude, someone else took it very seriously. Who dares to sabotage the precious rose candles? Vlad proposed a solution. Now we have to find the cause. The other person agreed. Of course. You start searching. Vlad was bewildered. Why do I have to do that? The other person said, Actually, you've already found her. Vlad was surprised. Who? It was only then clear who the other person was. It was Marcella, the owner of Rose Smile. She reluctantly confessed, It was me. I played a little trick. I wanted to scam those drunks and make some money. Hearing this, the two were helpless and didn't know what to say. A moment later, he went downstairs sighing, so I beat an innocent person. At the same time, he consoled himself. What else could be done if the madam is the one causing trouble? What can an employee do? As he stepped downstairs, a warm greeting came. Hey, son, I heard you caused some trouble yesterday. It turned out to be some older guys. You're doing well in your position, aren't you? I was wondering how that happened when I wasn't around. They approached and patted his shoulder. You pocketed some money after selling candles yesterday, right? Your big brothers here need to spend some money and our wallets are too flat out of cash. Perhaps this was also something Vlad had often encountered, their brazen attitude. He asked directly, What do you want, Burley? They even joked, Come on, no need to make that face. And demanding, I'm not asking you to give it. Let's make a deal. He knew if he didn't agree, they would cause a commotion, so he reluctantly agreed. What do you mean by a deal? He implied, If you give us some spare change, I also have something to give you. He introduced, That's a pickpocket, a clumsy, stupid one who plans very poorly. Then he dragged over a black boy who had been beaten black and blue by them and asked Vlad, Well, looks familiar, right? Brazenly, demanding money, as if it were ransom for the boy. I'll give him to you for 40 silver coins. It's very cheap, you know? Vlad gritted his teeth. What about his fingers and ankles? He laughed, denying he did it. Do you think if I cut them, I'd call you? I just hit him lightly. He's still quite intact. Vlad swore, Damn it, and threw a bag of money at them. As soon as they saw the money, they hooted, Our little brother is truly our pride. But they didn't forget to threaten the boy. Be careful next time, it won't be this simple. Returning to a friendly, familial attitude with Vlad. What's wrong? We're just gang members, not murderers. Vlad was annoyed. You even extort from your own people and talk so much. Passing by, Vlad B. gloated to the others. See, I told you Vlad would agree. That's why he manages all the brats on the street, you know? They were all gone. Vlad called out, Net. The boy, afraid of being scolded, quickly explained, I'm sorry, Vlad. I just intended to steal a little. But Vlad didn't interrogate him. He asked, Where are the broken bones? None broken, sir. Luckily, what the other said was true. Vlad shooed him away. Get lost before I beat you up. The boy ran off, not forgetting to thank him. I understand, sir. Thank you. Left alone, Vlad muttered regretfully, Phew, I'm far from having 5 gold coins again. At the seaport, a pair of nimble hands were writing. But that kid was lucky, because he didn't end up like this after pickpocketing. He said, holding up his left hand, which only had 3 fingers. It was Harbin, a whaler from Captain Hoover Harbin's family. He recalled the past when he was tortured while trying to protect Vlad and Jemina, having all his fingers and ankles cut. That time, he became an example for everyone. He wondered, and I heard that Rose Smile tampered with the candles this time, right? Vlad, sitting opposite, was surprised. Has that story already spread here? Harbin also didn't expect to hear this news. It had been a long time since a new rumor spread, but everyone doubted its authenticity. The madam makes the candles, but she's not the type to cause such troublesome matters, you know that, right? That was also Vlad's thought. That's what I mean. Even Jorge seems to know already. They're not the type to cause a commotion for no reason. He understood Vlad's words. They're not that type of person, but they still did it, which means they have a reason. Vlad wondered, what's the reason? Harbin guessed 90% it's because they need money urgently. He warned, be careful. There's only one reason a gang would urgently gather money. A war with another gang. The 5 leaders who run the slum first is the knight of the prostitutes named Jorge, the pork seller named Black Bear, the gambler nicknamed Dice, and finally the whaler Captain Hoover, and the one-armed money grubber Jack. The darkness within each person's life will silently varnish while lurking in the night. Just like now, it seems an event is about to unfold. Vlad had to face a savage, aggressive crowd. The leader called out, Hey brat, where's your boss? It was one-armed Jack. Accidents happen without warning. That could be the very thing that ruins your life without you ever foreseeing it. Did this money grubber come here on his own? Vlad secretly guessed, does this mean we're preparing for war? One of the underlings, seeing Vlad, didn't answer, so he shouted to show his power. This guy, didn't you hear the boss speak? He's asking where your boss is. Vlad thought for a moment, then feigned ignorance. I don't know. I only sell candles, so I don't know anything. Not getting a satisfactory answer, he cursed, You brat who's not even weaned yet. Then he rushed over, smashed everything on the table, and yelled in Vlad's face, If you don't know, you still have to go find him and bring him here to me. Although the candles were sent flying everywhere, some even completely broken. And despite the other man's aggression, Vlad remained silent, showing no reaction. Everyone in the tavern standing around only dared to watch. No one dared to step forward to protect him. But everyone was also surprised by Vlad's indifferent attitude. Even Jemina. Oh dear, it's all ruined. I can't sell anymore today. Only now did Vlad speak, showing regret as he bent down to diligently pick up the candles. This action made the other man even more furious. He wanted to see fear and pleading from Vlad, not this. Are you blind, you brat? Vlad was even very polite. Sir, your leg. What about it? The other man didn't understand. Vlad looked up directly facing him and threatened, Your leg is about to break. Your leg. The other man was so angry, his face turned red. You Bayazid tard. Then he lunged, intending to give Vlad a beating. Fighting is only a small part of war. Although he had a more modest physique than his opponent, Vlad was not daunted. He was ready to counter with a proper stance, a careful strategy. He rushed forward with his staff, and with determination struck the man's leg directly, then stood up straight to deliver the decisive blow. In the end, only 2 strikes were needed, one to the leg, one to the face. He lost teeth and fainted on the spot. Those are the things that make a victory. Everyone who witnessed it had the same expression, mouths agape in utter surprise. One-armed Jack was no exception. In this provincial town, that rule never changed. The victor stands above and the loser crawls below. The remaining underlings, seeing their comrade unconscious, all rushed to attack Vlad. Damn it, how dare you fight in front of him? But before they could, Jack raised his hand and ordered, Stop. He laughed. I really like this kid. I only have one hand, so I can only clap like this. I hope you understand. Vlad calmly said, I don't discriminate against disabled people. He burst out laughing. Ha ha ha, this crazy kid. Then he approached and said threateningly, Let's meet privately. What will this chaos be like? Vlad wasn't afraid. I don't know either, but they should have died sooner. Suddenly, a voice called out to him, interrupting the conversation. Money grubber, why are you here? It was Jorge. He said enthusiastically, If you had told me earlier, I would have grilled meat for you. Jack smirked. We're not that close. Contrary to that hostile attitude, Jorge was still very friendly. There are guests downstairs. Why don't we go upstairs first? He refused. Forget about the meat. Do you have any old wine? Dropping the hospitable attitude, Jorge implied Marcella would never disappoint her guests. The other guy agreed. If so, then I must try it. Then they moved upstairs, leaving behind a mess. Vlad behind them sighed in relief. Phew, I almost died. Looking at the pile of candles, he felt dejected. How many are ruined? A moment later, as he was cleaning up, a voice called from behind, Hey Star, your boss praises you a lot. I really have an eye for people. It was one-armed Jack and his underlings. He suggested, If you're tired of the smell of candles, come over to my place. I like you. Vlad scratched his ear and refused. but I quite like this place. They feed me, give me a place to sleep, and even pay me." The old man laughed. "Ha ha 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 ha. Then we can do that too." Then he threw Vlad a gold coin. "Compensation for these candles. A gold coin? This is too much," Vlad said. The other guy hadn't left yet. "If you come to my side, I'll always give you that much. I'm a money grubber after all." Only now did he pull his underlings away from here. "Now let's go eat." Seeing Jack's attitude, Vlad guessed, "His mood seems very good." Did the discussion go well? Vlad Jamina called down from upstairs. She said, "Jorge is calling you up." Vlad went up and sat with Jorge, but found the atmosphere strangely silent. He himself found it strange. Jorge said, "I was planning to give this to you later, but in this situation, I have to give it a bit earlier." He handed Vlad a gleaming sword. "Always carry it with you," he carefully instructed. Vlad understood implicitly, "I can sense it from the atmosphere here, from Jorge's attitude, to the madam, and the key people behind them." The conversation between Jorge and Jack, the one-armed money grubber, was terrifying. Jorge said gently, "From now on, don't sell candles anymore." Vlad was surprised. "Then what should I do? Collect money from the shops? Or go on patrol?" He told Vlad the truth. "I received intelligence that one-armed Jack brought someone from outside. That person seems to be a mercenary who used to be a knight." Vlad interrupted, "Like Lord Jorge." The old man said sadly, "Yes, like me. This is truly a danger. One-armed Jack is the leader of countless people. But for him, Jorge, a former knight, is still a difficult wall to overcome, because even a flock of sheep cannot fight a wolf. But if he invites another knight, everything will immediately be rebalanced." Jorge desired, "We are in a weak position. That's why I need you." Vlad was surprised. "Me." He didn't explain further. "I will soon give you your first mission." Harbin was a disabled person with severed fingers who couldn't even walk. He used his intelligence to learn to read and calculate, and was using that ability to serve under Leader Hoover. Looking at Harbin, I realized I could strive to learn, and then use that knowledge to climb to a higher place. That was the reason, and also the motivation for Vlad to diligently practice his physical strength since that day. While concentrating, a voice called out in his subconscious, "Kid, you need to lower your elbow." He sighed. "Heavens, whenever I practice, he's so talkative." A month ago, after being struck by a black lightning bolt, I started hearing someone's voice. That demonic whisper would speak whenever I held something similar to a sword. "Instead of a sword, maybe I should buy holy water first," Vlad grumbled. "Never mind. I heard the more I answer, the more it will talk. Focus, focus. Always try your best, focus your mind and strength and strike." Just as he was about to strike, that voice instructed him. "Lower it." Vlad unconsciously obeyed. Seeing the result, he was surprised. So different? If what I just did was merely swinging a sword, then this is swordsmanship. At the same time, suspicion mixed with curiosity arose. What is this thing in my head? Sometime later, as the world entered a cold winter, the weather on the mountain became even more terrifying. A person gently wiped the blood from his sword, sighing, "Old age is truly terrifying." It was Stanga, a knight. I can feel the biting winter wind chilling me to the bone. Suddenly he paused. It seemed he noticed something strange in the distance. With such shadows over there, I honestly don't know if it's unintentional or deliberate. Then he approached. "You over there stop, I've arrived." From within the forest, a voice asked, "Are you Stanga?" He admitted, "That's right, I am Stanga, and you must be Vladdy. The guide once said you came from the streets, but you have blonde hair and blue eyes. Those who don't know might think you come from a noble family." The one who signaled him just now was Vlad. He had likely undergone a training process and looked much more mature. He handed him a letter. "This is a letter from the boss." Stanga opened it and read the contents, understanding why Jorge had invited him. The enemy has a mercenary, who's a knight. It's not surprising that the superiors want my help." Vlad spoke up. "Then I will guide you. We will depart the day after tomorrow." But he still stood in one place, unwilling to follow Vlad. He sighed. I don't know if I should follow this idiot." Vlad slowly assured him of his credibility. "And I'm sure I can at least lead the way. But he seems to still want to test me. I, on the other hand, am skeptical. A guy who makes summer animal migration sounds in the middle of winter as a signal. How can he be smart?" Vlad was slightly startled that he realized so quickly. He threatened, "If you say something like, 'I think there are no enemies here,' I will take your life immediately." Facing such an imposing attitude, Vlad was not daunted. He ignored it. "Please just follow me. I don't want to mess up the first mission." Only then did he let him go, observing from behind. "Look at this guy. I intentionally created such a dangerous atmosphere, and he's not bothered at all." Then he chuckled to himself. "Jorge will like this kid. A young person worthy of being polished." A moment later, the two took a break in a mountain cave, lighting a fire. Neither side spoke, but Vlad was always focused in one direction. It was Stanga's sword. He noticed it too. He asked, "What are you staring at me for first time seeing a retired knight?" He then criticized Vlad. "Looking closely, you look like a country bumpkin." Vlad wasn't to be outdone. "Where are you from, Dacia?" "Oh." He then let out a sarcastic breath. "Wow, that's also a village." Stanga, hoist by his own petard, was angry, but could do nothing. "I wish you'd lead me astray so I'd have an excuse to chop off your head." Vlad opened a bag of meat and retorted, "Hey, why are you so scary? Can't I even joke? Are you? Seeing the pile of meat, he was visibly pleased. Oh, that's some fresh beef. I hope I get a share of that. Unexpectedly, Vlad's answer slapped him in the face a second time. I didn't bring a share for you. Don't you have anything to eat? Surely I do, but it's dried meat, both salty and hard to swallow. He hesitated. I have some, but Vlad didn't bother listening. He started grilling the meat. Stanga behind him just gulped, drooling. Ugh, this smell is terrible. He wanted to make a deal with Vlad. Kid, don't you have a few things you want to ask me? Vlad wondered. What's suddenly wrong with you? I'll answer one question in exchange for a piece of your beef. You won't get another chance. It turned out he wanted to eat, but was too proud to ask someone younger than him. Vlad, who was grilling meat, knew this perfectly well. Vlad hit the nail on the head. How much do you want, sir? If you want some, just ask. The other guy jumped up. You brat, I need to save face too, you know. He crossed his arms and explained. Knights always only accept rewards that are fitting. Vlad retorted sharply. But you're retired, aren't you? Ignoring him, Stanga persisted. But all this time Vlad interrupted, asking, Name? Stanga. Then Vlad asked, Age? He also answered with 42. Hey you. Actually, Vlad also wanted to learn more from experienced people. Do you know how to use aura? Stanga laughed. Looks like the kid is ready to show his cards. He explained. Every knight has the ability to use aura, but applying it in actual combat is a different story. Vlad asked again. So can you do it or not? Stanga was evasive. Well, Vlad immediately understood the hidden meaning. He took out all the meat and gave it to Stanga to get an answer. Take it all. Stanga looked into Vlad's eyes for a moment, then repeated his earlier words. Knights only accept rewards that are fitting. At the same time, he unsheathed his sword. But sometimes we have to indulge ourselves. Anyway, I've had dry rations for the past few days. Vlad was extremely excited. Really? Will I really get to witness it? Stanga stood in the middle of an open space, firmly holding his sword, raising it. His left eye was tightly shut. Vlad, seeing this, couldn't help but wonder, why are you closing your left eye? I must reveal the world within my soul. The surrounding scenery instantly changed, becoming solemn. Blue light emanated from that eye. He slowly said, Watch closely, kid. This is the essence of knights. A halo enveloped the entire sword. Stanga suddenly opened his eyes wide. The immense power forced Vlad to raise his hand to shield himself. Aura. Under the bright moonlight, the image of the valiant swordsman with determined eyes and a brilliantly shining sword in his hand was deeply etched in Vlad's mind. Outside the castle, under the tall, sturdy walls, Stanga dejectedly said, Ugh, this is terrible. I feel like a good-for-nothing. Vlad also consoled him, but it was Stanga. It's not too bad. Looking like a good-for-nothing is still better than looking like a knight. I don't mean appearance, but my inner feelings. A knight full of honor looking like this messy, hair-sparse beard and a world-weary face. Vlad quickly offered help. I'll take you through a secret passage. You can't go through the main gate because you're too easily identifiable. Let's move. I'll prepare a bath for you when we arrive. Immediately after they both went to a secluded place, Stanga couldn't help but speak. It's too quiet. Maybe it's because it's late. Just as Vlad replied, they both suddenly noticed something unusual. Stanga asked sternly, Is this place always like this? Vlad sweated and replied, No. It seemed this place had been attacked by someone. In front of them now were bodies strewn everywhere, blood splattered all around. It appeared a fierce brawl had taken place. Vlad's face darkened. He quickly said, Let's go. I'll show you a gate that only members of our guild know. He turned and asked, What about the kid? Vlad didn't turn his head but rushed off. I'll go through the main gate to attract their attention. See you later. The area by the gate was also full of traces of the chaotic battle. Vlad panted, wiping sweat with his hand. Inside wasn't much better. Tables and chairs were in disarray, food scattered all over the floor. You've returned safely. Good. The money grubber has acted. The skills of those greedy ones are truly extraordinary, Jorge said. Marcela was carefully bandaging him. Vlad carefully asked, Are you okay, uncle? This is the first time I've had to fight a knight-level opponent after a long time, so... Behind him was a man who had been knocked out. Jorge quickly changed the subject. More importantly, did you manage to bring him? Vlad quickly replied, Yes. The main gate was under surveillance, so I told him to enter through the back door. He should be arriving soon. Veins bulged on Jorge's angry face. He growled, Good. Tomorrow I'll grab that money grubber by the neck. This time, I'll settle the score once and for all. By the way, what does he look like? He won't wander off, will he? Jorge seemed worried. Vlad immediately denied it. No, he'll be fine, and he looks like a good person too. Marcela also added, After all, Stanga has a noble side to him. Vlad also continued, His body looks agile too. Has he lost weight? Well, if you want to live long, taking good care of yourself is the right thing to do. Yes, he's also a knight who can use aura. Tomorrow will definitely be our day. Jorge's pupils suddenly constricted. He asked again, What? The sound of shoes hitting the ground grew louder. Vlad heard it and said, Ah, it seems he's coming up. Step by step getting closer. Jorge hurriedly asked, Vlad, does he really use aura, huh? Yes, I saw it. Hearing the answer, he quickly gripped the sword in his hand and said loudly, "Hide behind me. Stanga doesn't know how to use aura." Only then did Vlad realize with astonishment, "What do you mean, uncle?" At that very moment, the mysterious man was standing behind Vlad, his sword still stained with blood. He spoke, "You've come a long way during this time." Both immediately looked at him with wary eyes. "Long time no see, senior." The impostor, his face covered in blood, slowly revealed a sinister smile and greeted them. He slowly wiped the blood from his sword and calmly said, "Indeed, one cannot escape old age. The winter wind these days really chills to the bone." Looking behind him, the bright red blood stain on the white snow, he indifferently continued, "It sounds true, but is it because they are truly stupid, or did they do it intentionally? When was that person eliminated?" His eyes weren't even closed. At this moment, Jorge had taken a defensive stance, extremely wary of him. The impostor sneered, "You've changed a lot. Why did you come looking for me?" Jorge was so angry veins bulged on his forehead. "Count Gaidar has passed away." Jorge still couldn't take his eyes off that cunning man. "The matter is complicated, so it hasn't been announced publicly yet, but soon everyone will know." He calmly poured wine into a glass. The atmosphere became even more tense, their gazes clashing. Neither quickly nor slowly he raised the wine glass in his hand and said sonorously, "A toast to our poor Count Gaidar." Jorge almost lost his mind, clenching his teeth, roaring with anger. "You bazed tart!" Then he quickly rushed forward, and Jorge's reflection appeared on the glass. With a loud bang, the blow landed and the floor cracked. The glass was cut in half. Jorge, Marcela, and Vlad were all utterly astonished, their eyes wide. When had the fake Stanga moved? He was now right behind Jorge. He continued his unfinished words, and to the new Count Gaidar Lord Siegmund. Jorge roared, "Godwin!" Then he quickly turned, slashing straight at him, but unfortunately it was blocked. The clang of two swords clashing the two of them just kept at it. The impostor showed no hesitation, calmly saying, "Lone Knight Jorge, return to Bayzide immediately. That is Lord Siegmund's first order." He angrily roared, "Siegmund is not my lord." He retorted, "Of course. The Duke also doesn't think you can obediently return, and he doesn't want that either." As he said this, a cunning glint appeared in his eyes. Belongings were sent flying everywhere. Both took defensive stances at the same time, continuously showing hostility towards each other. For every step Jorge advanced, he hastily retreated the same number of steps. He didn't hesitate to thrust forward. Stanga quickly dodged. Vlad quickly shielded Marcela. "Marcela, it's very dangerous here. This way." The two hastily left. Behind them, Jorge was still relentlessly swinging his sword. They finally made it out of the room. From downstairs, a voice echoed, "Hey Vlad, what's happening up there?" He quickly raised his voice. "Burley, hurry up. Gather everyone up here quick." Wait. Before he could finish his sentence, Jorge's large figure was sent flying out the door. In an instant, everyone was stunned. Jorge just hovered in midair. The fake Stanga appeared amidst the rubble, growling, "You still make stupid decisions as always, Jorge." Thud. He fell straight onto the floor, dust flying everywhere. Everyone quickly gathered around. "Leader." "What happened?" Jorge coughed dryly, trying to get up. He just looked down like that, his eyes clearly showing contempt. Suddenly, a knife flew from somewhere. He quickly parried it. It was Vlad. He didn't hesitate to provoke that Stanga, nor did he shy away, but glared at him. That guy didn't pay any attention, pushed Vlad aside and rushed downstairs. Vlad, horrified, yelled, "Jorge, run!" But at this moment, he was struggling immensely, unable to lift himself. That Stanga showed no mercy, aiming straight at him and slashing down hard. With his agility, Jorge was lucky to escape with his life. However, the situation wasn't any better. Stanga coldly said, "That day you should have obeyed the Duke's order." Jorge struggled to reply, "I am also human. I cannot obey that order." Without letting him say another word, he denied it. "No, you are a knight." Jorge clenched his teeth, his eyes showing clear determination. Behind him, everyone had drawn their weapons ready to fight. He carefully assessed the situation, then said, "Tonight has been too long for me." Slowly closing his eyes, he continued, "I must rest." On the other side, Vlad ran for his life, his eyes clearly showing worry. The sword in his hand gradually emitted a dazzling blue light. Vlad rushed forward, yelling fiercely, "No!" His eye color also gradually changed. Aura was about to be activated. He still relentlessly tried to stop him. "Stop!" But the slash marks were already on the bodies of everyone around, including Jorge. In just an instant, he lunged forward, delivering countless slashes. The dazzling light and powerful force prevented him from even raising his hand to shield himself in time. The entire space seemed to be torn apart, cut into hundreds of thousands of pieces. In the end, only a scene of desolate ruins remained. Vlad sat slumped on the ground, coughing a few times from the thick dust. His body was covered in wounds, not understanding what had just happened. Before he could even get his bearings, countless bodies lay strewn before his eyes. Vlad gritted his teeth, each word hissing through them. "Damn it!" In the distance, a figure suddenly approached, and then a blood-covered face slowly came into focus. He startled and quickly called out, "Jorge." Small drops of red dripped onto the floor. He was as if struck dumb when he saw the scene before him. Warm memories flashed by the first person to extend a hand to the wandering boy in the dark valley, the person who gave him more recognition than anyone else and whom he thought was the strongest. Under the silent blue moonlight, he coldly grabbed Jorge's head. In those pupils was the image of the beloved's head, just like that hovering in midair. That boy's world had been cruelly destroyed. He quickly picked up the sword beside him, roaring like an unchained evil dragon. "Don't do it!" The sword hastily tried to intervene, but at this moment he had no rationality left and just charged forward, a decisive slash unleashed. He was astonished to realize the sword path. How could a brat emerge from this gutter with such a sword path? He didn't hesitate to praise him. Very good. Those words, he didn't want to hear them and immediately roared, "Die!" But before he could do anything, he received a bone-chilling blow right in the stomach. He kicked Vlad straight, sending him flying several meters. Vlad couldn't block in time and was just sent flying. After delivering the kick, he acted as if nothing had happened. But he was also extremely careful in his thoughts. That was his instinct. That turn was an instinct for defense. The sword worried incessantly. "Breathe, don't faint." Vlad struggled to get up, moaning continuously. The fake Stanga hesitated somewhat. "If I kill this sprout now, it would be too much of a waste, even if it returns with a sharp sword." Observing potential is always interesting, Godwin. After thinking, he gave a demonic smile. Slowly walking in front of him, he spoke, "Kid, you led the way for me. Knights only accept fair and fitting compensation." Vlad looked up, puzzled. "What?" He contemptuously threw a few pieces of meat at Vlad, then revealed, "My name is not Stanga, nor am I 42 years old. Because you suffered injustice, I have received much from you, so I will compensate you for it. However, I will also take this." As he spoke, he looked towards Jorge's head in his hand. Then using a superior tone, he said to Vlad, "Because this is fair compensation for me and also the right of the victor." Vlad gritted his teeth, resentment etched on his face. He hissed each word, "I will kill you." He, however, paid no attention and turned away, not forgetting to leave a few words. "Don't think you'll get compensated a second time in your life, with your current life." The sound of teeth grinding echoed. He didn't hesitate to shout loudly, "I will definitely take your life, Godwin, I guarantee it." His figure gradually disappeared into the distance. Vlad used all his strength to scream, "I guarantee it." Two lonely figures on the deserted road. Jamina carefully supported Vlad, who was dragging his heavy steps. Suddenly, the wound throbbed with pain, causing Vlad to collapse, letting out a soft moan. His breathing became labored, cold sweat pouring down. "Get up," a cold command rang out. In front of him, Marcella stood there, her eyes serious. "Do you want to die here?" Vlad had no will left, just sat dejectedly on the ground. Seeing him like that, Marcella was extremely displeased. Slap. She slapped him hard across the face, her eyes glaring with anger. "Snap out of it, kid. Do you know the difference between us and those who live on the streets?" Marcella growled, her eyes glinting with determination. "It's opportunity. Even if they fail, they can always get back up because they can pay the price. But what about us? Look. This is the price of failure." Before them was a desolate scene, bodies strewn everywhere. "For us, falling means death. We were born like this." She gripped Vlad's shoulder tightly, trying to instill some final rationality in him. "Don't throw away the only chance you've been given." Marcella's tears streamed down her face. Returning to the present, Vlad tried to fight the pain, wiping the cold sweat from his forehead. Jamina asked worriedly, "Are you okay? Should we slow down?" Vlad gritted his teeth and firmly replied, "No, keep going. It can't end like this." Suddenly, a loud voice rang out. "Find him, Jorge's lackey is this way." Both quickly fled. "Damn it, run!" The other group also quickly pursued. The nest was destroyed, so no matter how young the bird, it had to take flight. Neither dared to stop. Just held hands and ran for their lives. After a while, the pursuers lost their trail. Where did they go? They definitely ran this way, or hid in an alley. We have to find them at all costs. They're worth a lot. One of them grumbled. "I'll make them pay for the slander I had to endure that day." Split up and search. They couldn't have gone far. They quickly dispersed, unaware that at a large nearby door, the lock had been pried open. Behind the door, Jamina tried to cover her mouth to avoid making a sound. Vlad already had a knife in his hand, ready to fight. He thought tensely, "I can't keep running like this." Then he turned to Jamina. "Jamina, stay here. Don't go out until it's quiet outside." "Huh, what about you?" "I'm going to find a way. Those Bazatards stick together. It's too dangerous to go together." The weariness was evident on his face. Jamina panicked, insisted on going. "I don't wanna. Let's go together." Marcella promised right. "She'll help us get to the right place, back to the monastery before dawn. Or to Harbin's place." She couldn't bear it and shouted. He was also at a loss. "You don't listen to me at all, you idiot. Do I look like I can protect you?" Jamina, feeling sorry for herself, whimpered, but suddenly a voice rang out. "Who are you?" Both were startled. Jamina quickly reached for a nearby knife, holding it up warily. In front of them was the figure of a man holding a lantern, looking at them with a puzzled expression. "You two? Why are you here?" She tensed and shouted when she saw him about to approach. "Don't move, old man." The old man didn't understand, helplessly saying, "What's wrong with you?" Why did you suddenly barge into someone else's house? She gripped the knife tightly in her hand and shouted, I told you not to move. I'll stab you for real. The old man said nothing more, just looked at them seriously. Jamina was trembling with fear, tears welling up. The old man said softly, I understand. So put that unsightly thing down first. She clenched her teeth and ordered, Give me a sword. The old man made a face. Huh? The sword hanging over there. It's very dangerous to go out into town now. I'm not kidding. So give it to me. At this point, Vlad also had to speak up. Jamina put it down. She didn't listen, her voice growing louder. Give me the sword now. Yes. This is the true nature of those who live in the back alleys. This is their true nature, the nature of those who rob everything to make a living. The old man looked thoughtfully at Jamina, silently assessing. Has that kid become like this now? On that innocent face, fear, recklessness, and determination were evident? The old man just softly uttered 2 words, so sad. She almost went mad, clenching her teeth, gripping the small knife tightly in her hand and let out a roar. Vlad quickly shouted to stop her. Jamina! The old man just silently closed his eyes. The knife swung up. Vlad's eyes widened in astonishment. Swish small locks of hair gradually fell. In her hand was the end of her own hair. The old man couldn't have expected this either. Her voice trembled barely a whisper. Here, I know this isn't enough, but I will definitely pay it back. I swear. Tears streamed down. She earnestly offered the lock of hair in exchange. Jamina pleaded with all her heart. So please, please give that sword to Vlad. Lock by lock, it just fell. The old man was as if stunned by the girl's action. After a moment of silence, he finally composed himself and turned to ask Vlad, Are you planning to leave? Vlad tensed and replied, Yes. The old man looked at him intently and thought, This young man is doing what I've dreamed of my whole life. But there's one thing I can never do. He still can't fully spread his wings under that sky. The old man rubbed his forehead and sighed helplessly. Kids are really a nuisance to adults. Follow me. Then the old man turned and walked away on the snow-covered path. The cart slowly rolled along, carrying so many jumbled things. Jamina couldn't stand it and cried out, Ugh, the smell. The old man immediately spoke up. Stop complaining and push. This is the only way. Old man. The loud call startled him a bit. Some thuggish young men stood in front of the car interrogating him about what he was doing in the middle of the night. These Bayazitards, are they trying to block my way? Before the old man could answer, he continued. Are you taking out the trash? But why at this hour? Damn it, it's because you people made a mess and blocked the whole alleyway. My house is full of garbage now and I can't get rid of it. The old man let out a long string of curses with all his might. The other man saw it and was annoyed. Oh my, this old man is really hot-tempered. Suddenly he noticed the figure of a heavily cloaked person behind the cart. Who's that? You're not alone. I'm too tired, so I asked him to help in exchange for bread. Why don't you guys come over and help push? The old man shouted loudly. Tisk. Because you're the only blacksmith in the back alley, I'll respect that, but I have to check him out. Saying that, he walked towards the other person, pointed the tip of his sword at the hat, and coldly said, Don't move if you don't want to be cut. Then without any regard, he slashed off the hat. His sharp gaze made the old man on the side break out in a sweat. Oh heavens, making a living is so hard. Jamina contorted her face into an ugly, demonic grimace, sweat also pouring down her face. Only then did he lower his guard and say, All right, go. The old man then asked, What the hell are you looking for? Jorge's underling, the one with blonde hair, he's the only one missing. The old man looked annoyed. Tsk, can I go now? The other person shook his head. There's one more thing we need to check thoroughly. Hey, you check the cart. Vlad, who was hiding under the mess, was also startled. Jamina and the old man were just as terrified. Don't do it. There's no dirt everywhere here. The one who was ordered swaggered over and replied, All right, go over there. The old man in distress thought, Damn it, should I take them somewhere else? No, there's nowhere else. That guy looked through the pile of things on the cart, so much stuff, then suddenly noticed something. Jamina, observing from the side, couldn't help but feel anxious. She lowered her head and bit her lip. He just silently searched. Don't be sad, this is my job. As he spoke, he gripped the spear tightly in his hand and without hesitation thrust it hard into the pile of things. She was so scared she didn't dare to look and quickly covered her eyes. The old man was also burning with anger. The other side also showed no sign of stopping. It was said that Harbin launched a search near the river. Hearing this, both of them seemed frozen. There must be a reason why he did that. The spear whizzed past Vlad's face, almost hitting a vital point. Anyway, I'm just telling you that. His face remained extremely calm. Then he also pulled out the spear and said, All right, go. The old man turned away, but still kept his guard up against him. This is the 40 silver coin debt I'm paying for my younger brother, he whispered softly. Vlad was silent, a hint of sadness in his heart. Thank you, sir. Then the group also left smoothly. The snow continued to fall. Finally, they all arrived. We're here. This is the dump. Jamina whimpered a farewell. Goodbye, Vlad. Take care of your health. In the quiet late night, he followed the pile of garbage being pushed away. The old man watched his heart aching. Jamina couldn't hold back her tears, worried for her best friend. The beginning of that boy's journey had become this old man's lifelong dream, and it had taken away a little girl's tears. The bright moonlight shone on the snow-covered mountain ranges. The shiny sword gleamed in the space. Vlad just stared blankly. He raised the sword in his hand and talked to it. "Can you hear me?" Immediately, a voice replied. "Who are you?" he asked back sternly. "I don't know." The sword also replied very honestly. "I can't believe it. You give me so many tips on using a sword even though you don't know who you are." The sword was also speechless, not knowing what to say. "Well, it doesn't matter. I will help you, and you will help me. I will become your memory, and you will become my sword," he said resolutely. "I don't care if you're a demon or not. What I'm afraid of is—" As he said this, the towering image of Godin reappeared before his eyes, but he declared very eloquently, "There's nothing at all." The sword then replied, "All right, I will teach you about my sword." A clear, cloudy day over the snow-covered mountain peaks. The Bayezid family crest was hung all over the army's tents. Chess pieces were placed on the board. Too easy. Joseph Bayezid, the second son of the Bayezid family, said to himself. He frowned and remarked, "That's too simple." An officer entered the tent from somewhere and announced, "Young master, I have returned." He looked up and replied, "Ah yes, you're here, Jaeger." Jaeger stood tall and solemn, as if showing a serious greeting to his young master. Then he inquired, "It seems you are troubled by something, my lord. Are you worried?" His face was somber. Joseph confessed, "It's precisely because it's too easy." Jaeger told his young master about the advantages. The conquest of the monsters went smoothly. Casualties were few, and besides, they were all mercenaries. Hearing this, Joseph immediately had a question. Aren't deserters considered insignificant missing cases? A result with no variables or deserters. Everyone will doubt my command ability. A flash of anger appeared in Joseph's eyes before he continued, "Including father and the vassals. Of course, and Rudiger, my half-brother." Jaeger listened attentively, speechless. The more he thought, the greater Joseph's worry grew. At this rate, it's over. If I can't become the new duke, what Rudiger will do is all too clear. Joseph recalled, "The Bayezid family brought glory to the army. The proof is history itself, since my father and his blood brothers trampled each other to fight for that position." Joseph narrowed his eyes, calculating, "I don't have enough swordsmen. Of course, excluding you, Jaeger." Jaeger, facing him, quickly reported, "Young master, besides this, I have another matter to report to you." Joseph ordered, "Speak." The man reported, "There is a very suspicious soldier." Joseph pondered, "Is it a spy my brother planted?" Jaeger denied this hypothesis. "That's not why I suspect him. You will understand when you see him with your own eyes." At this moment, in front of them was a goblin slashed by bloody sword strokes. Seeing the scene, Joseph also had to cover his face with a handkerchief. Truly disgusting. Could this have been done by a child who just learned to hold a sword? He looked at the goblin's corpse hanging precariously. Jaeger reminded, "My lord, please look at the other side as well." Observing the goblins hung on the wooden planks, Joseph assessed, "These slashes are quite sloppy. They're all the same." Wherever he went, he frowned. "This one is a bit better. And this one too." When he looked at the overall picture, Joseph was horrified to realize, wait, are they all the same marks, but they are different? He called, "Jaeger, don't tell me this was done by the same person." All of this, around them, was a large room with only goblin corpses hanging. Jaeger didn't deny it. "Yes, young master. They are the ones that appeared yesterday. And the place you were looking at just now was from a month ago." As soon as he finished speaking, Joseph couldn't help but be surprised. He stared intently at the goblin, speechless. Impossible only in a month. Joseph immediately questioned, "Who is it?" At this moment, on the densely snow-covered mountain peaks, blood splattered everywhere. 2 more goblins had been killed. The group of mercenaries fiercely charged into the horde of monsters. The commander led, "Hold the formation. Don't let them escape." The sharp blade was thrust down quickly. The soldiers looked at the corpses before them and cheered triumphantly. "Finally, we can witness the grand finale. All right, let's get the rest." But suddenly, everyone's expression tensed, their hands gripping their weapons tightly. Seeing their expressions, that soldier also couldn't help but ask in bewilderment, "Huh, what?" Not knowing at all that behind him was a giant goblin raising its wooden club. A powerful blow came crashing down, so forceful that the remaining soldiers couldn't withstand it. The monster was full of muscles with sharp teeth and eyes that seemed to want to burn the entire space. The remaining people, even though their hands were ready with swords and shields, also turned pale. Suddenly, the beast roared and charged straight towards the remaining group of people. Without any mercy, it swung its muscular arm, attacking the unfortunate ones. Those who hadn't been dealt with by it screamed in fear, "It's crazy. Where did that thing come from? It even took down Team 5, retreat quickly." On the other side, a man on horseback observed the situation. Brodan, a knight under Joseph, arrogantly ordered, "What are you doing?" Quickly, at Varnus, "Do you still intend to receive a reward while doing business like this?" The mercenaries quickly retorted fiercely, "We never heard there were goblins. You should have hired high-class soldiers or go fight yourself." Hearing his subordinate talk back, he angrily cursed, "You Bayezid tards." But before he could even spur his horse, a soldier was sent flying towards him. On the other side, the goblin was still rampaging and killing. Seeing it, Broden couldn't help but pause. Then he had to sheath his sword and not add varnish further. Suddenly, a figure appeared, its footsteps imprinted on the thick snow. That person carried a sword at their hip, with hair like a golden sun. The soldiers were also puzzled by this strange presence. Who is that Riemann? Cheers erupted around as they realized, that's right, it's Riemann the supplicant. Riemann, or rather Vlad himself, said few words. I'll handle it. The strong figure flew towards the goblin. It was also startled by the new enemy growling a few times as if questioning itself. While the goblin was dazed, Vlad powerfully swung his sword. A slash whizzed past the bare back of the demonic goblin. It only let out a cry enough for Vlad to realize. It was a slash that wasn't damaging enough. The soul within the sword warned dodge, just as the goblin swung its club down. With his agility, Vlad quickly dodged. The goblin missed. Vlad slid far on the snow. He said to himself, damn it, I failed again. The soul of the sword scolded Riemann harshly. You idiot. Can't you do it even though I taught you? He cursed helplessly to himself. If I could do that, I'd be considered a genius if I knew how to perfectly execute a sword move just by hearing it. Once again, Vlad stood up to face the beast while replying, I'm just testing what you're like. The goblin roared, veins bulging on its forehead from the force. The wooden club swung down but couldn't hit that agile body. Vlad slashed at the goblin's upper body, then retreated to dodge. Attack the goblin was in so much pain it gritted its teeth. It gathered its strength, gripped the club with both hands, and raised it high. A powerful blow that sent even the snow on the ground flying. The snow dust gradually dispersed, but under the giant club there was only a dent in the snow. Vlad silently affirmed, this time I'm sure. I can cut it. Behind the goblin was the power from the swordsman who was gathering all his strength. Shuddering, it turned around, and Vlad managed to deliver a decisive blow. Jaeger was still continuing his report. Riemann. Joseph frowned and repeated, Riemann the supplicant. Jaeger, investigate that man immediately. Jaeger obeyed, yes, my lord. After hearing Joseph couldn't stop doubting, truly absurd. The sloppy twisted slashes have improved. I didn't expect him to master the sword path in just 1 month. Thinking of this, Joseph involuntarily smiled. Returning to the snowy field, the red from the giant goblin's blood stained the scene as it was cut in half. Vlad frowned, exhaling a white mist after the attack, and Joseph couldn't help but praise, he's a genius. The mercenaries, while cleaning up the battlefield, complained to each other, it's all trash. There's nothing useful here either. Huh. Seriously. I was hoping to find something useful since there are goblins here. Subordinate Goethe suddenly exclaimed, Leader, isn't this time also great? Vlad, while carefully sheathing his sword, reminded him, stop boasting. Just bring the things I've already marked. Goethe quickly replied, I've already done it. No one dares to take your number 1 position, leader. He enthusiastically started a conversation. Oh, the conquest is almost over. What do you plan to do next? If you don't have any plans yet, how about you cooperate with me? If your sword and my brain combine, before he could finish, Vlad cruelly cut off his hope. My principle is not to get involved in scams. Riemann's sarcastic words made Goethe narrow his eyes in annoyance. He also retaliated by hitting Vlad's weak spot, the mercenary badge. You can't use it forever, right? He offered a tempting bait. I know someone who can perfectly fake it. Vlad, annoyed, growled, Goethe, don't let your mouth run wild. If this is an offer, I'll warn you. But if it's a threat, I'll kill you. Goethe's face turned deathly pale, not a drop of blood left at this terrifying reaction. He immediately tried to appease. I only said that because I was worried about you, leader. Making a little money from the position of cavalry commander would be a waste of talent. Vlad glared at him and warned verbally, if you don't want your head separated from your body, shut up and clean up. Goethe knew he couldn't entice him anymore. He fearfully ran away. All right, I'll do it right away. Vlad exhaled sharply in anger, thinking to himself, sometime I have to teach him a lesson. Then he turned and walked alone deep into the forest. Looking at his retreating figure, some soldiers curiously gossiped. Is Riemann going to pray again? He's really persistent. Following that, Vlad went to a small corner and knelt before his sword. People secretly watched from behind the birch trees and exclaimed, damn it, this scene is crazy. Is he really not a noble? He was definitely born different from us. How could they, from their solemn and devout perspective, know that he was cursing? Damn it, I still can't cut it in 1 slash. The soul in the sword instructed Vlad, you idiot, I told you the secret to felling a monster with 1 slash is very difficult to learn. He wondered about his shortcomings. So what exactly is the cause? That mysterious teacher pointed out in detail. If you raise your sword and focus your strength into your body to attack the opponent, you must first concentrate on seeing its weakness. Vlad frowned after hearing this. Do I really have to understand that? The sword immediately scolded him. Why don't you understand? When the opponent reveals a weakness, you must attack immediately. Only then did Vlad nod. That's really true. I'll pay attention. Not knowing that behind him, the soldiers had turned to pray together. A new bustling day arrived in the northern snow-covered land of Swara. On the dining table was a bowl of steaming meat stew. Looking at the ladle of soup being scooped up, Vlad doubtfully asked, what kind of meat is this? This is meat, right? Goethe explained, I don't know either. It's free, so what's the big deal? In most other places, the owners don't provide meals. The soldiers at the same table interjected, do you think he suddenly brought them here for no reason? Yeah, salty, but still delicious. But Vlad still wasn't very trusting. Enjoy your meal. He left a sentence and then departed. The mercenaries buzzed. Is the leader going to the priest's place again? Should we pray for something? Asking means you've already failed. Do you think praying can make you as good as him? Inside the priest's tent, Father Andreas saw him and smiled gently, inviting him in. O Riemann, come in. Vlad politely bowed to him. Priest Andreas, I hope you slept well last night, sir. He continued Vlad's words. I'm always at peace. Andreas started a conversation. I heard you also came to pray last night. It must have been very cold, right? Oh, Vlad politely replied, being sheltered by God's arms, it's no longer cold. But in his heart, he was secretly cursing the mysterious old master that Bizidtard made me practice swordsmanship all the time. Hearing his exchange, Andreas laughed loudly. You're more like a priest than I am. Suddenly, the young assistant priest came to call. Priest Andreas, the meal is ready, sir. He nodded. All right, thank you, young Jian. So he made Vlad sit down. I was about to have breakfast. Eat with me. Vlad tactfully expressed his intention to refuse. I didn't come here to have breakfast. But Andreas and Jean quickly clasped their hands. Now let's pray. So Vlad also had to join them. The priest's voice droned on. Thank you, Lord, for granting us this precious food today. May these foods give us strength. Let us strive to do more good deeds. While praying, Andreas secretly glanced at the young man. Seeing his serious expression, he silently praised, truly a sincere person. Even in such a humble place, he doesn't lose his faith. Andreas said to himself, I must guide him. This young man intends to spend his life seeking achievements on the bloody battlefield. This is also a tear of God. When Andreas paused, the word Amen was uttered. He gently said to Vlad, now let's eat. Vlad obediently replied, yes, sir. Thank you for the meal. The fragrant breakfast on the table cheered his mind. Precious bread and soup. Let's eat. Just as Vlad was about to enjoy the rich piece of bread, Andreas spoke, about your swordsmanship. Because I'm used to it, I know. But it seems this matter has reached Lord Joseph. 2 days ago, Lord Jaeger came to inquire about you. Chewing a piece of bread that filled both his cheeks, Vlad was dazed. Oh, what else, sir? Nah. He told him in a proud tone, I nominated you. I said, I really look forward to the future ahead because you are truly a sincere young man. Andreas's expectant words startled Vlad, making him stop his movements. The priest analyzed, the Bayezid family is a prestigious noble household even compared to the north. Working there will give you a better environment than where you are now. Vlad's eyes darkened as he continued, you deserve to enjoy those things. On the way back, Vlad couldn't help but complain, so difficult. It seems I've attracted attention again. The sword also agreed, it can't be helped. My swordsmanship can only be learned through practice. Didn't you think before that being too close to a priest was a problem? Vlad hesitated. I have to verify first. The sword again questioned Vlad. Are you sure I'm not an evil spirit? Vlad indirectly answered with the story of Andreas. People say Priest Andreas is very famous and very strong in holy power, to the extent that he was nominated for the position of bishop. Since he couldn't catch me either, everything is still safe for now. But if possible, shouldn't I at least run away if I'm discovered? The sword pointed out the inadequacy. With this level, won't they pretend to be blind and not care about your fake identity? Vlad nodded. If they suspect me, they will find out I'm the one who killed that thieving mercenary and took his place. Then I'll be guilty of both impersonation and murder. The soul hidden within the sword mocked Vlad. You're quite cruel too, aren't you? He immediately gritted his teeth and cursed. You're an accomplice too. Perhaps thinking about how he would implicate Vlad, the sword offered a plan. I think it's better if you run away. Only if you can wisely reason with them can that incident be recognized as self-defense. Vlad added, so suppose I run away tonight. If I take Goethe with me, I can have another fake identification badge. Then suddenly, the sword changed its tune and said, I think it's hard to escape from here. Even Vlad was stunned after hearing it and asked back, huh? The sword warned him, someone is approaching you from behind. From the aura emanating, he must at least be a high-ranking knight. Because he had been warned beforehand, Vlad immediately switched to defensive mode and used his sword to protect himself. Jaeger, looking at Vlad pointing his sword, was also quite surprised. Vlad still tried to maintain his composure and defensive stance. This quick reaction successfully scored points in Jaga's eyes. He noticed my presence. This kid is more useful than I thought. He looked at Vlad and announced, Lord Joseph wants to see you. After hearing this dreadful summons, Vlad regretted in his thoughts. I shouldn't have thought so much. I should have run immediately. If I get caught here, I don't know what will happen. He replied without any fear, it's my honor. Because deep down, Vlad understood clearly in a game of cards, they say a determined expression is a secret to defeating an opponent. Jaeger was curious about his reaction. You knew I would come. Vlad answered honestly. I heard the priest say so, though I didn't expect you to arrive this early. The more he interacted with Vlad, the more excited Jaeger became. Interesting. This young mercenary brat is still very composed before meeting me. He turned and called, "Follow me." Vlad looked at the man walking ahead with suspicion. His refined eyes narrowed. Should I just run now? But the sword timely reminded him, don't even think about escaping him. A knight of that level can take your head in 3 moves. Indeed, just looking at his tall figure was enough to silence people not daring to make a sound, let alone disobey an order. Vlad was annoyed because the plan failed. Damn it, can't avoid it. The two of them arrived at Joseph's camp together. He was holding a book in his hand, but still greeted Vlad. Finally, I get to meet you. It's an honor. Jaeger looked at Vlad with full etiquette, bowing in response to his young master. It is my honor, Lord Joseph. He caringly inquired, did you encounter any inconveniences while carrying out your mission? Vlad politely replied, thanks to your dedication, sir. We are all very grateful, sir. Joseph looked at his striking appearance. Blonde hair, blue eyes. I guess you are the son of some fallen noble. Is your name Riemann? Vlad politely replied, yes, my lord. His long, slender hand closed the book. Joseph suddenly exclaimed, ah, I should have told you sooner. Suddenly, Jaeger gave him a stinging slap. Vlad was in pain, not understanding what was happening. Jaeger looked at him with sharp eyes. At the same time, the young master spoke, I despise liars. Vlad of the Swara clan. Vlad indirectly admitted, you already know everything, my lord. Joseph continued, someone has confirmed your mother is a prostitute, but I can't find out who your father is. Do you know who your father is? Faced with this tactless question, Vlad snapped, are you kidding? Asking the son of a prostitute who his father is. As soon as he retorted, Jaeger kicked him in the leg. Vlad cried out in pain before collapsing. He reminded him, know your limits, kid, while Vlad looked at him with hateful eyes. Joseph Advern asked, step by step. No thinking back, it really is a joke. It's a mercenary organization. Perhaps they killed someone and then brought him back. I found the reason why you ran away from Swara. He interrogated him, where did you learn swordsmanship? Vlad didn't answer but maintained an annoyed attitude. Joseph observed him before speaking, there are many things hidden in those eyes. Behind Jaeger, without saying a word, began to draw his sword. Vlad gritted his teeth. Then he answered incoherently, advarnacing like lightning. That was my teacher, but he disappeared like the wind. A flash of surprise appeared in Joseph's eyes. Vlad continued to recount. He didn't reveal his name, but he said, the image of the strong man standing amidst brilliant lightning bolts appeared in their minds. The story continued, that it was his divine eye that could see the few who had potential which no one else could see. Joseph saw Vlad's determination. His gaze didn't waver. Then he proactively acknowledged his rude behavior. All right, I apologize for treating you badly. Vlad observed him, surprised that his lie had passed so easily. Is it effective? Only now did he feel Vlad was sincere enough to share. I don't know you, but I am currently in a very difficult situation, so I want to make a proposal. The call for help rang out. Vlad of Swara, don't you want to reach a higher position? Power, freedom, survival, the title of knight. I'm talking about those things. Joseph made an offer that left Vlad slightly aghast. I, Joseph Bayezid, want to support you in achieving those things. Two swords clashed, creating an incredibly stimulating sound. Jaeger and Vlad were having a fierce sword fight. The surrounding soldiers also remarked, he wields it well, doesn't he? Another retorted, it's because he's going easy on him. But one thing made everyone buzz with discussion even more. Has he become Jaeger's student already? His skills must be incredibly outstanding. So jealous, I also want to be guided by him. On this side, Jaeger swung his sword down onto Vlad's blocking blade. The force of the blow made Vlad groan. Jaeger changed his stance and berated, such a coward. With those mediocre skills, you dare to hold your head high in front of Lord Joseph. Does that sound reasonable? And he launched a powerful move to teach him a lesson. You really don't know your current position, do you? First time fighting back. Vlad, of course, has shortcomings. The skill level is too different. If you want me to use all my strength, you need to practice much more. Suddenly, he came up with an idea. Jaeger also noticed the difference in this reaction. So there was only. Vlad glared and rushed forward. The two swords crossed again. Using a new technique, Jaeger's wooden sword was thus followed. Finally moved away from the attacked area on Vlad's body. He successfully shifted the force to escape Jaeger's attack, then quickly swung his sword forward. Once again, the two of them rushed at each other. The excited spectators cheered when they saw Vlad's resistance. He has risen up. He is quite good. Jaeger was happy to see him bounce back strongly. All right, at least it should be like this. Vlad panted heavily from exhaustion, looking at the man in front of him. He thought to himself, I still haven't succeeded. He just let me show myself. While trying to regain his strength, he had to receive bad news. Morning and evening continue to fight like this twice a day, after hearing that Vlad's face turned pale without a drop of blood. Twice a day. Jaeger indifferently walked away, ending the morning training session here so that he wouldn't rest too much. Vlad's eyes still followed him. He thought discontentedly, he is not honest at all. He didn't even bother to give me a piece of advice. At this time, the sword praised good fight. He mercilessly removed the burdens and pride from you. There are things you can only learn when you are beaten. Vlad scratched his head and avoided it. There was nothing to say. In Joseph's private camp, he asked him, "So, you've seen it with your own eyes. What do you think of him?" Jaeger said, "Honestly, he's not bad, sir. If he came from a noble family, even the count would pay attention to him." Joseph was pleased. "I knew it. My eyes are not wrong." Jaeger pointed out his weakness, but the problem is that he doesn't know his limits and is quite arrogant. He immediately said, "He was born and raised on the streets, so it's understandable. All we have to do is slowly teach him etiquette." "I think I've found the right person for that position." Jaeger thought about it when he heard that. He expressed his concern a disloyal sword cannot be trusted. Joseph did not deny what he said. "Although he politely bowed his head as soon as he saw me, I still wouldn't trust him if he revealed his true nature. Like that it would be fine." He remembered the conversation from the day before the serious young man Vlad had earnestly requested. "There's one thing I must definitely do it." Joseph was willing. "I think this is the best of relationship, where both sides give each other what the other wants. Seems to be a stable relationship." Jaeger respected his decision. "It's up to you, sir." Joseph really wanted to understand Vlad better. He's like a wolf, isn't he? Arrogant, untrustworthy, and lives nobly. But Joseph himself had affirmed, "I don't want to, but I will, even though building a large cage will take a considerable amount of time." It seems Joseph will bring a sophisticated and perfect trap, a cage large enough for the wolf trapped in it to still mistake it for its freedom. Night fell, bringing coldness to a place already covered in snow. Goethe shivered. "It's so cold. Why is there so much fog in winter?" Thinking about the leader, no, Vlad has become Jaeger's disciple. "I have to get good quickly and try harder." He was alone by the fire, holding a spear in his hand, chattering incessantly. By the way, success is one thing, but to do it in this kind of weather. A figure appeared out of nowhere and asked, "Is everything all right?" Goethe replied clearly, "Yes, Sir Roderick, there doesn't seem to be anything unusual." Roderick left a reminder sober up and continue working. He replied obediently, "Yes, sir, please don't worry." This enthusiastic spirit pleased him, and he praised him good. Goethe still maintained a bowing posture as Roderick's back gradually receded. Only when he was completely gone did he continue to talk to himself. "He is so sturdy that not even a needle can penetrate him. He just went on patrol, so he probably won't come back. It's cold, and it's nighttime. Goethe's eyelids are fighting, so he's wondering, should I sleep a little?" Then he finally dozed off. Suddenly a voice rang out, "What are you doing here?" Goethe was startled. He hasn't left yet. Roderick's voice rang out again. "What do you mean by looking for children?" Making Goethe wonder who is he talking to. Roderick's scolding voice was heard again. "It seems you are crazy," a voice replied. "I'm looking for my child." He listened intently. "Children? Huh? Why isn't she talking anymore?" Goethe tensed up and watched the distance. Then he made his way closer, and he suddenly realized, watching Roderick's retreating figure. Where is he going? That's not the way back to the camp. Goethe doubted for a moment. A black smoke surrounded Roderick, making Goethe wonder. That is, Goethe couldn't believe his eyes. The woman's cracked and hideous face appeared from behind the fence, her dark mouth open as if she wanted to eat Roderick alive. Vlad grimaced and massaged his limbs while complaining. "My whole body aches. Can't he be a little gentler?" On the way to the training ground, the mysterious spirit in the sword explained, "You are new, so this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. There are many people who have to pay to have a chance to fight Jaeger because he is a very good knight." But thinking about yesterday's terrible training session, he immediately retorted, "It seems he just wanted to beat me to a pulp. As an instructor, I have to advise you that's why your fighting quality is improving no matter what. Such willpower is very important." Vlad was sad because the divine sword didn't comfort him at all, so he made a sad face hearing, "That makes me sad." From behind, a loud voice suddenly called out, "Captain Riemann, Captain." Goethe waved his arms and legs, shouting, this way, look at me for a moment." Now Vlad noticed the figure next to the tree and said, "Oh." But Vlad immediately blamed him, making Goethe pouted and wanted to turn around and leave. "When did you come back? The conquering army doesn't seem to have returned yet." Goethe tried to explain himself. "Captain, I was planning to run away from here tonight," which made Vlad wonder, "What are you talking about?" Goethe whispered, "Don't forget that I came here to find you. Don't forget, I only have good intentions. We should meet and have some fun sometimes." His words, both before and after, confused. "Vlad, what do you mean?" He continued to remind you, "Shouldn't take my words lightly. I've seen it, with my own eyes." At this point he hesitated. "That forest, the forest where we are conquering, is cursed." Vlad's eyes widened in disbelief. He asked, "What?" Goethe explained indirectly with a question, "You also know that quite a few soldiers have run away, right? Even though the salary and working environment are very good." Vlad did not deny yes. Goethe then revealed a horrifying truth. "It's because the forest took them. They are not deserters, but missing people." Vlad's eyes widened and his mouth dropped open when he heard that. He remembered the horrifying face he met last night and continued to tell him the story. The ghost that kidnaps people in the forest. He listened to Goethe in silence for a while. It turned out that the silence was to prepare his strength before hitting Goethe. He raised his hand and scolded him. "You Beisitard. Even if you talk nonsense, you have to know your limits." He tried to fight back with both actions and words. "I'm telling the truth. It's true." Vlad was once again stunned by Goethe's account. Even yesterday, a knight disappeared. He asked him, "Sir Roderick," and he nodded repeatedly. "Yes?" Sir Roderick? He brought out every detail he had to tell him. On the way back, I discovered something all the missing people so far all have black hair. As soon as these 4 words were uttered, even Vlad was suspicious. The mysterious story was over, only Goethe was left hiding his tears and cursing silently in his head. He blamed himself. Damn it, I should have packed my things and run away. If Goethe had done that, he probably wouldn't have had to endure leading the way. Jager maintained a focused gaze on his back. He asked him, "Can we trust him?" Vlad replied bluntly, "No, even so he's not crazy." This made him hesitate. He was engrossed in thinking about what his young master had taught him. Sir Joseph thought this was an opportunity. Instead of going on a meaningless conquest, discovering something strange would be more beneficial. The train of thought drew Jaeger into a worry for Joseph, but that made him uncomfortable, so he asked again, "Do all the missing people have black hair?" Vlad informed him of some news indirectly talking about Joseph's situation 3 nights are guarding the post something might happen. Jaeger said it's because they are all useless. Jaeger said to himself, "But it seems I can't stand by and watch Roderick is missing, so someone better than him must be involved." Goethe finished his guiding mission. "Sir Jaeger, the conquest team's tent is here." As soon as they arrived, a soldier from the group introduced himself. "I am Aaron, Sir Roderick's subordinate." Jaeger asked him, "So you've searched the entire forest and still haven't found any trace?" He replied honestly, "Yes." Aaron continued, "Even with mercenaries who used to be hunters guiding us, we still couldn't find a single footprint." Hearing about the difficulties, Jaeger secretly decided, "I probably have to go check it myself." He assigned the task divide into groups of 3 and search around spread out, but make sure you can still see each other. The whole army obeyed. Understood. The search time had passed for quite a while. The sun was gradually setting. Goethe gritted his teeth and complained, "It can't be. How could you do this to me?" Whenever he saw Vlad's face, he would scold him, "You swindler, a swindler who takes advantage of other people's kindness." He could only remind him, "Don't talk privately anymore. Focus on searching. I'll compensate you later." Jaeger came to them to inquire about the situation. "Did you find anything?" The 2 replied bitterly, "No." Jaeger was annoyed. "Useless." Vlad reported, "I came from the city, so it's a bit difficult for me to find people in the forest." He questioned, "So in the back alley, how do you find missing people?" Vlad said indifferently, "It's simple. Just drag someone out and beat them up, and you'll find the person you're looking for." Jaeger immediately scolded him, "You're really useless." Watching the sun set gradually, Jaeger was a little worried. The sun is setting. Night is about to fall. Will I have to go back like this? Suddenly, he noticed something strange. It's a river in the middle of this snowy sky. He immediately asked, had they searched the other side of the river yet? Goethe replied, "As far as I know, they haven't crossed the river yet anyway. It's not the path of conquest." Jaeger thought to himself, "There's no trace in the forest, and we've searched once already. It's impossible that we can't find Roderick or that unidentified woman." So he commanded, "Gather the mercenaries. We will cross the river." Aaron at the back obeyed. Understood. He shouted to summon all the remaining people. He took a few steps on the glacier, felt it. It hadn't completely frozen yet. Vlad next to him also touched the surface and commented, "Winter is over too. But this is still enough for us to cross." Jaeger also agreed, "If we divide into groups to cross, it will be fine." When everyone was gathered, they were excited. "What is it? You found him?" Aaron replied, "No, that's not why I called you." Jaeger announced, "We will expand the search area to the other side of the river. It hasn't completely frozen yet, so divide into groups of 3 before crossing." Everyone shouted in unison, "Understood." So each group of people cautiously crossed the glacier. Goethe and Vlad cooperated and walked together. This time, he let out a cry that made him ask worriedly, "What's wrong?" Goethe spoke his mind. "I have a feeling something is wrong." Vlad immediately scolded him. "Intuition. Nonsense. You're just scared," Goethe shouted. "Of course I'm scared too. I'm not as good as you guys." He frowned. "Even someone like me has to rely on intuition to survive. Do you know, and right now?" Goethe said, "Intuition tells us not to cross that river." Vlad now spoke seriously. "I don't know about intuitions, but there's one thing I'm sure of. A warning for him, that is, if you run away now, you won't die a peaceful death." Goethe was terrified. Cold sweat poured down like rain as soon as he spoke. "The only witness who ran away from the scene, even I will catch you and kill you." So Vlad reminded him, "Enough nonsense. Follow me. Crossing the river is the way for you to survive." He still held on to his belief and pretended, "Damn it, this isn't right at all." Goethe cautiously stepped onto the ice. As soon as his feet touched it, he screamed hysterically, "Captain, this might break, right?" Vlad tried to be patient. "Of course. If you keep dawdling, I'll break the ice and drown you." Goethe slumped down, wailing, "I can't." Vlad had to grab his collar and urge him, "Get up. We're the only ones behind." Goethe's eyes went white with panic. He screamed in terror upon seeing a sight. Vlad thought he was faking it and cursed, "This Bayezidtard, seriously." But when he lowered his gaze, Vlad himself froze. Beneath the ice river were the soldiers they were looking for. Someone's eyes were still wide open, making Goethe go numb. He screamed, "Corpses!" The people in front also turned back in shock. The soldiers heard the call. "There are corpses under the river," and indeed many hands were reaching up from below towards the bank. Suddenly, they felt the river surface moving. The crowd scattered in panic. They shouted warnings to each other in the chaotic scene. What, the ice is cracking! Get to the shore quickly! Hurry! A hand reached up from the river. The corpses had turned into a horde of zombies rushing towards the humans. The soldiers were cornered in the middle, surrounded by zombies on all sides. They cried out helplessly, "Damn it! What the hell is this? We're surrounded." The subordinate soldiers fearfully asked for help. "Sir Jaeger, what do we do now?" Jaeger was furious because he could do nothing. "This is a trap, an elaborate trap, as if they knew we were coming." The sun, like their ray of hope, was gradually disappearing. Would this confrontation succeed now that night? And darkness had arrived, and the soldiers trapped in this forest. This was not the territory of the living. Moreover, the horde of zombies was about to charge at them. While the soldiers were facing the zombies at this moment in the church, Father Andreas and the young boy Jean were giving thanks to God. "Lord, thank you for watching over us today." He prayed fervently, "Please guide us with your light so that we may always walk the righteous path." The two were intently reading the scriptures. Suddenly, Andreas's whole body trembled for no apparent reason, making Jean beside him call out worriedly, "Father?" The once pure holy water in the cup had strangely turned murky. An evil aura also surrounded them, making him speak uneasily. "My lord." Outside the encampment was an immensely dark space. Snow fell with thick fog. It was already cold, and now it was even more obscure. The female demon whispered, "Child, my child." The plea echoed from the realm of the dead, a mother who had lost her child. It sounded more sorrowful than frightening. "Where's my child?" Meanwhile, over here, the zombies and ghouls rushed quickly towards the soldiers. Goethe, tears streaming down his face, screamed for help. "Captain, Captain!" His captain was currently busy dealing with a zombie. Vlad, with his divine sword, charged fiercely. One slash beheaded several zombies. He let out a cry, exhausted. Zombies from all directions were still menacingly lunging at him. Vlad switched to defensive mode, trying to use all his speed. He transformed into a grim reaper, his sword like a scythe reaping. Wherever he went, zombies tumbled. Goethe was still the same. Loud crying remained his greatest weapon when facing the hands of demons. He was exhausted from the killing, turned to check the situation behind him, and seeing his subordinate making no progress, he snapped, "Get up and grab your spear. You tard." Goethe had words of surrender on his lips. I can't do it." Vlad was so annoyed he wanted to curse. "Damn it," the sword spirit had to calm him. "Don't be flustered. Choose a path before deciding to escape." Looking at the zombies before him, Vlad understood that he couldn't add varnish. At the same time, he worried for his comrades. Is Sir Jaeger still safe? Over here, Jaeger was also single-handedly soloing a dozen zombies. Sweat beaded on his cheeks, proving Jaeger had expended considerable energy on this horde. The subordinates weren't controlling the situation like him. Some were grabbed by the head and bitten on the shoulder by zombies screaming, while others were attacked by two zombies at once. Looking at the situation before him, Jaeger worried, "Damn it, this is going to drag on endlessly." While counterattacking, he pondered, "This trap means they planned it beforehand. I may not know who set it up, but its target is all too clear." One of Jaeger's eyes was glowing, emitting a light like the color of emerald. That aura grew increasingly brilliant, a sign that Jaeger was also trying for a quick victory, thinking, "There's no time to hesitate." His sword was also covered in blue light. The zombies attracted approach more quickly. Jaeger gritted his teeth, trying to suppress the discomfort in his eye, and focused intently on the battle. The horde of zombies shrieked at his strange light. Jaeger's power surged, sending swathes of zombies tumbling with each swing of his sword. The subordinates were thrilled by their commander's top-tier handling of the situation, cheering to each other, "Group up, come here. Sir Jaeger is still with us." Jaeger and Vlad. Two blue streams of hope and luck for this legion, harmonizing together to bring victory. He suddenly shouted, "Vlad of Sawara, fulfill the contract." Vlad, fighting on this side, also heard it. Having just snapped a zombie's neck with his hand, he also shouted, "Sir Jaeger, I will do it." He loudly commanded, "Retreat to the post immediately, and at all costs resist for as long as possible. Protect Sir Joseph according to the contract." Vlad had just finished a sword strike when he received the order. Understood. He tried to run very fast, pulling Goethe along. "Let's go. Go then." Goethe, unable to keep up, called out, "Captain, wait for me." Jaeger glanced back to check a little uneasy in his heart. "Oh dear. I pray that those who receive my orders can reach Sir Joseph safely." Then he focused on fighting, unaware of a familiar figure behind him. The glowing sword, and he seemed to merge into one. Only when he looked ahead did he startle. It was Jaeger's loyal subordinate. He spoke sorrowfully to the zombie that no longer had consciousness. "Sorry, I'm late." He called the name of the person who had gone through so many ups and downs with him before finishing him off, Roderick. The next day the sun had risen. The legion was on its way to Joseph's Bayside. As for Joseph, he was still unaware of what had happened. The exemplary young master was still diligently studying under the oil lamp. The sound of someone panting and running around startled Joseph, who cried out, "What the hell is going on?" A clear cry for help rang out, "Let me go," making him wonder in confusion. "Is there an intruder?" Broden burst in, calling loudly, "Sir Joseph." Joseph stood up and asked him, "Brodan, what's all the commotion?" Brodan stammered, unable to get to the point. It's. A moment later, after Joseph learned what happened, he angrily cursed him. "You came straight to me without even checking the situation." Broden made an excuse for his cowardice. That's because your safety is my top priority, sir." The more he spoke, the angrier Joseph became. He exposed Brodan by shouting, "Then why didn't you bring your sword?" He looked down at his hip and, horrified, let out a cry. Joseph furrowed his brows tightly. He was about to lose his temper with Brodan. "You're lucky today. If I were him, I would have had you hanged immediately." Brodan earnestly begged, "Please forgive me, sir." Father Andreas and other swordsmen also entered. He politely greeted Sir Joseph. Only then did Joseph's facial muscles relax, his voice softening. "Sir Andreas, do you know what's happening?" Father Andreas immediately interjected, as if understanding Joseph, and gave the answer he sought. "It's a demon, sir. Take a look. This is a passage from the scriptures written in holy ink." Joseph looked, his refined eyes once again narrowed in astonishment. Even the Bible itself showed the strangeness of this matter. Andreas analyzed, "The letters are trembling like a leaf before a storm. This is not normal at all." Joseph asked him, "Is there any way to stop it?" He answered honestly, "I am not an exorcist, but he would certainly contribute." Proof was Andreas telling Joseph, "I will try to release as much of my divine power as possible. But with a demon like this, I might not be able to help much." Joseph nodded regretfully. "I understand." He thought to himself, among the knights left behind, no one can create their own barrier to protect their comrades. He looked towards his subordinates, but for now they were his only option. Joseph led the group, commanding, "Move out." Just as he stepped outside, Joseph encountered a sight that stunned him. He wondered, fog. In fact, hidden behind that mist, warriors attacked by zombies were crying out in pain as their bodies began to transform. A series of desperate screams rang out, "No, I'm not human." Joseph covered his face because of the smell of corpses. He wondered, does this fog make people delirious? Andreas answered, "I can only be sure of one thing: this is not a natural pinal meaning." He frowned, thinking, it's affecting me too. As the group was on their way, a call from the realm of the dead arose, "My child." The female demon appeared and disappeared in the mist, repeating her words, "My child, where are you?" Andreas and Jean were terrified, their eyes wide as they stared at the wandering spirit before them. The cavalry troop also turned pale at the appearance of the female demon. Joseph froze. The female demon's footsteps advanced towards them. She turned in all directions, searching for her child. The demonic face repeated the question, "Are you there, child?" The terrified group retreated as the female demon kept advancing towards them and then shrieked. The female demon leaned close to Joseph, crying out, "I finally found you, child." It shrieked, "My child," making Joseph break out in a cold sweat. The female demon moved closer. Its large hand lunged upwards as if to grab Joseph entirely. It spread its arms wide as if to embrace him, continuously calling, "Child, my child." Andreas used his divine power, clasping his hands to pray for protection. Jean also fervently pleaded. Everyone tried to keep Joseph inside, preventing the female demon from grabbing him. Joseph thought to himself, "So there's no other way to defeat it besides you, Sir Zaya." Looking at the remaining cavalrymen struggling on the ground, Joseph thought, "Cade Maxim, they don't deserve it. They don't deserve Father Andreas's blessing." Meanwhile, the female demon continued to wail, "My child." He understood his problem. It seemed like a curse. Joseph gradually accepted that the curse was meant for him alone. But what concerned him more was the person who pushed him into this situation. Joseph gritted his teeth, thinking bitterly, who could it be? Jean was young and probably couldn't withstand the negative energy so close. The boy coughed up blood. Even so, in this perilous situation, Andreas couldn't take full care of the boy and could only encourage him, "Hold your ground, Jean. The sun will surely appear again." The female demon's hand tried to penetrate the barrier. This made Jean cough up even more blood. The boy slumped down, crying in panic while trying to recite the scriptures. Poor Jean was about to collapse as the demonic figure drew ever closer. Joseph looked towards the boy, also thinking sympathetically, that assistant priest has reached his limit. The hymn is about to end. Does that mean everything is over? He was helpless. We can't wait until sunrise tomorrow morning. But his ray of hope had arrived. Through the dense fog, Vlad's figure flew towards them. The female demon startled and turned sharply. Vlad and his divine sword would be here to dispel this dark night. The mysterious master had instructed, that thing is cursed. While flying towards them, the divine spirit had advised, therefore ordinary swords cannot cut through it. Vlad immediately asked, then what should I do? The knight within the sword suggested with a question, can you use aura? Vlad was bewildered. Are you kidding me? But he still had hope when the divine sword said, there is a way. So Vlad quickly asked again, what is it The spirit elaborated, "If you let me possess your body for a moment." Vlad was astonished. "Is that possible?" The sword spirit replied, "I'm sure I can use my own aura." Vlad, while imagining enduring the possession, listened as the other continued, "But I'm not sure I can use it in your body. Even if I can use it, I won't be able to move for a while." The divine sword continued, "So I don't recommend it." Vlad deduced, "So if I don't kill it, I'll be the one killed." The being summarized for him, "That is also the law of swordsmanship." Vlad said to himself, "Let's do it." The guiding master, uneasy about leaving him, asked, "Are you sure?" Determination was clearly reflected in Vlad's eyes. "I promised Joseph. A man of his word doesn't go back on it," and Vlad always remembered, "I have a duty." He slowly approached the demon to fulfill his mission. The final thing Vlad wanted to affirm to his mysterious master was, "I will offer my faith instead of loyalty." The being also understood and replied, "I will respect your decision." That's why there was now a brave Vlad facing the female demon. It also shrieked, ready to lunge and tear him apart. Before Vlad, everything suddenly went dark, making him let out a soft cry. The master reminded, "It's time. Close your right eye." A beam of light from the sky shone down on Vlad's body. He felt this change and felt elated, having to ask again, "Really?" A world of voices. The stream of light wrapped around him like a vortex. His eyes also lit up, just like when Jaeger began to awaken his energy to fight. Even the sword underwent this transformation. The female demon opposite was affected by the new energy. It shrieked. Perhaps the possession ritual was complete. Vlad and the master were now together in his body. This combination successfully created a shield of light energy that resisted the dark power of the female demon. Indeed, it was overwhelmed by the aura. Even young Jean had started to become more alert, watching every move of the fight in awe. Andreas was overjoyed by this excellent performance, while Brodan was terrified by the superhuman Vlad. Joseph was also surprised by the turn of events. Vlad gritted his teeth as his body began to give out. His legs buckled and he fell to the ice. His whole body tensed up. Vlad screamed as if to release everything. Joseph, terrified, called out to him, "Vlad!" Vlad, in pain, clenched his teeth, his whole body trembling violently. He remembered Vlad's extraordinary display and pondered, that was definitely a trace of aura. I don't know how he achieved it, but it certainly came at a high price. While Vlad was immobilized by the effects of the possession, the evil woman seemed to have recovered her strength. It began to call, "My child, my child." This was the clearest proof that the battle could not end here. It was crawling closer to Vlad. If he delayed even a little longer, there would be no chance left. Suddenly, Joseph ran quickly towards him, then shouted a command, "Stop the him!" Seeing him like this, everyone tried to stop him. "Sir Joseph." He supported Vlad, trying to speak loudly, hoping Vlad could regain consciousness. "Vlad, lean on me." Seeing Joseph, the female demon became even more excited, repeating her words, "My child." Its hand had touched his calf. Joseph struggled with all his might, but it was useless against the evil woman's strength. He was extremely angry. "This damn weak body, I can't even escape on my own anymore." From somewhere, a loud shout appeared, "Sir Joseph!" A strange hand tightly gripped his cloak. It was Broden, and he was shouting because of his recent actions. "Please forgive my insolence." With one strong motion, he threw both Vlad and Joseph far away, ignoring the female demon trying to grab his leg. The female demon's pitch-black eye sockets welled with tears at being separated from Joseph. Andreas watched the two fall heavily to the ground with some concern. Joseph was grateful for Brodan's help. "This is the first time I felt relieved to have you by my side." Brodan shouted, "Thank you, sir." Vlad's hand began to reach for his sword. Even though he was showing signs of fatigue, he softly called to the priest, "Father, please bless my sword." But no matter how tired he was determined to fulfill his duty. "I must help that woman escape this suffering." Father Andreas was silent for a moment, then agreed. "I understand." He gripped the sword tightly, causing blood to ooze out. The father told him after completing the ritual, "I have blessed your sword." Vlad received the sword and replied politely, "Thank you, Father." Vlad once again fought alone before the hopeful and prayerful eyes of those behind him. He stood tall before the female demon lying prone on the snow in agony. In utter despair, it pleaded, "Please help me." Vlad pondered before the female demon. He remembered the moment he fought it earlier and thought, even if it was just a brief moment, I saw it. When his vision turned gray, it was the moment he witnessed the sorrowful memories of the female demon. In the past, she was the woman imprisoned in that dark cellar. Before she, in an iron cage, had cried out pitifully, "Child, my child," and the child abandoned on the cold floor. For a mother, this was a horrifying torture. She, in endless pain, had pleaded earnestly, "Please return my child to me, I beg you." She could do nothing but plead as her child slowly died right before her eyes. That was her terrible memory when she was still human. Could anyone understand the tears of pain, despair, and sorrow of a mother witnessing her child slowly die, unable to save them? Vlad pointed his sword down and gently said, "Rest in peace." Even now, the female demon was still haunted by that pain, repeating the question with eyes that had cried countless times, "Where is my child?" Vlad thrust his sword straight through, fulfilling the tragic fate of the female demon. At this moment, the female demon reverted to her human form, then gradually faded away. The night had ended. The space was now clearer. Only the woman's questioning voice, "My child," still echoed somewhere. That dark energy, still dense, was gathering on a box. A man in a tightly wrapped black scarf was controlling it. He was gathering all the evil energy. The denser the amount, the more delighted he was. Perhaps he was the one behind everything. However, that pitiful woman had been freed, meaning the source of dark evil energy gradually faded. His previously smug face was now contorted. He thought to himself, "I can't feel her presence anymore." Sitting in the middle of the forest, hiding behind a large cliff, he wondered, she was defeated, but by whom among them? Only one knight knows how to use aura. Suddenly, a voice came from above him. Standing on the cliff, Jaeger with sharp eyes and a reflective sword accused, "So you're the little rat pulling the strings, huh?" Making him tremble in fear. Scene change. Joseph looked down and asked, "He is—" The one asked was Jaeger, who had returned with a head whose eyes weren't closed. "The one controlling the corpses," Jaeger nonchalantly replied, "Probably." Additionally, he brought back a box that the man in black used to control the evil energy. Jaeger further explained, "It's a child's coffin." Joseph instructed Jaeger, "Please give it to the priest. I will investigate further upon returning to Bana." Jaeger obeyed. "Yes, sir." He stood on the cliff overlooking the town, saying with some disappointment, "It seems our conquest has completely failed." Jaeger quickly replied, "I have no excuse, sir." But Joseph shared something he was content with. "Although it was a failure for some reason, I also feel very relieved." Jaeger continued the conversation. "What about the other guy, sir?" Speaking of which, Joseph smiled faintly. "I think we've found the person who will become my sword." He recalled Vlad's performance that day with satisfaction. That kid will be a sword that shines brighter than anyone else. As for Vlad, he woke up with messy hair, asking bewilderedly, "Did I sleep for 3 whole days?" The mysterious master helped him answer, "That's right. Be careful next time. I didn't know the side effects were so strong." Vlad sat on the bed, confiding, "But it's a good thing. I thought they would take me on the journey right away, like treating me as luggage and just throwing me into some carriage." The mysterious person continued, "They must have waited for you to recover." That person also remarked, "That Joseph fellow seems to care a lot about you." It's unknown if Vlad heard as he looked tired, closed his eyes, and leaned his sword on the ground, wanting to stand up. He walked to the tent entrance, lifted the flap, and saw a sight that puzzled him. Outside was an empty campsite. He wondered aloud, "Why is there no one in the campsite like this?" Then he answered himself, "Well, after all that, it's natural for them to run away." Suddenly, Gerda appeared from nowhere. Seeing Vlad's figure, he smiled and asked, "Captain, you're awake. Do you know how worried I was?" Seeing him, Vlad joked, "Oh, the first one who wanted to run away is the one who stayed until the end." Gerda, being teased, didn't mind and grinned broadly. "Of course, they promised to pay extra when we get back." Goethe proudly recounted his transformative journey. "I brought you back to the camp and even risked my life with the knight to fight again. You shouldn't forget this incident." Vlad showed a weary face. "All right, I'll consider you." Goethe added, "Sir Jaeger told me to report to him once you woke up, and Sir Joseph is in his tent. You should go see him." Hearing this, Vlad prepared to leave, immediately adding a word of advice to Goethe. "All right, keep up the good work." Moved a little. Goethe then turned the moment awkward immediately after by requesting, "Speak well of me in front of them, okay? Don't forget." Vlad wearily scolded, "So noisy, it's killing me." He went to Joseph's encampment. Joseph greeted Vlad with a sparkling glass of wine. Joseph softly asked, "Can you drink wine?" Vlad answered honestly, "Yes. I once worked in a brothel, but I've never drunk such expensive wine." Joseph rested his chin on his hand, smiled, and remarked, "This truly is wine for the nobility." He said sincerely, "First I want to thank you. At that time, you could have run away." Vlad immediately said, "Well, there's a contract between us." Joseph also nodded. "That's right. You once promised me by your faith." Though he said that deep down, he understood, but that contract, after all, was just empty words. Yet this kid actually kept his word. He's a talent I can't miss. Suddenly, he felt something was off. Wait, no, that's not right. It turned out he felt he should change it to an affirmation to apply the law of attraction. He is a talent I must have. So he raised his wine glass, implying, "If so, then it's my turn to keep my promise. I will give you a reward worthy of what you've done." Joseph declared, "I officially invite you to join House Bayezid," which made Vlad dumbfounded with shock. Leaving the land of ice and snow, they arrived at the beautiful and gentle Varna district of Bayezid. Jaeger reported the situation. "Sir Joseph, the mercenary squad has all been dismissed." Joseph praised, "Very good. The report on the conquest hasn't been finalized yet, so we'll have to stay here for another day or two." Meanwhile, Vlad was foolishly looking around, which also caught Jaeger's attention. He approached and asked, "Is this your first time here?" Vlad was honest. "No matter where we go, it's always the first time for me." So Jaeger immediately teased him. What about Bamkin District? Which made Vlad really want to punch him. In contrast, Joseph cared for him. He said, if so, then rest today. You can go for a walk and see the city. Vlad bowed his head and replied, thank you, sir. Jaeger showed a distrustful expression and added a warning, kid, don't get lost. And remember to be back at the city hall before nightfall. Vlad reluctantly obeyed. Yes. Watching Jaeger, Joseph, and Broden leave, Vlad pouted and thought negatively, I really hate that old man. Hearing his thoughts, the divine sword now appeared. It seems Jaeger is as fond of you as Joseph is. Hearing this, Vlad showed a disgusted face. Then please don't be fond of me anymore, or my life will be ruined. But thinking about enjoying the atmosphere, Vlad immediately cheered up. He was excited, but anyway, I've gotten a large sum from the conquest. Let's go have a proper meal. I wonder what's good here. Suddenly, a small hand grabbed his wrist, softly calling, Sir Vlad. It was Jean, the boy dressed as a novice. Vlad leaned down to listen. Oh, father, is something wrong? Jean smiled and suggested, if you're not busy today, sir, the priest would like to invite you to meet him. Vlad asked in surprise, the priest? He agreed to follow the boy to the church. Vlad was astonished by its grandeur and vastness, exclaiming, it's huge. Even the other temples in Swara aren't this big. Jean then explained, because Stuma is the capital of Bayezid district and Varna is the religious center here. Jean took his hand and said, please come inside and wait a moment. I'll bring the priest right away. Vlad entered the luxurious room alone, marveling at a myriad of things. Every detail here seemed to be covered in a warm golden hue. He headed towards the place of worship, pondering, thinking back, even though I'm a follower of Roman, I've never prayed properly even once. He rubbed the back of his neck, wondering to himself again, I don't understand why I feel so guilty. While he was questioning himself, Father Andreas appeared from behind his voice so affectionate. Vlad, sorry to keep you waiting. He politely nodded in greeting. It's all right, Father. Thank you for inviting me. He smiled kindly. Don't mention it. Then Andreas handed him an object. Here, take this, Vlad asked in surprise. This is, Andreas explained, this is your identification card. Vlad couldn't hide the surprise on his face. He added, Sir Joseph will surely have a way to handle it, but an identification card from the temple is the most effective. After all, his influence extends throughout this continent. Vlad stared intently at the card and was startled by a detail. The card read Guardian Father Andreas. He patted Vlad's shoulder and advised, come see me if you need any help. The priest was kind to Vlad. From now on, I will be your guardian. What he said moved Vlad deeply. Father, until now, he, a kid from the streets, wasn't even registered at birth. Yet the priest was willing to take him in, moving him to kneel before the priest. In his heart, he was grateful, thinking, now I have a guardian helping to register my name with the vast world out there. From today, he was no longer Vlad from the back alleys, but Vlad of Swara. Under the clear sky, the carriage procession was on its way to the mansion. Joseph took the opportunity to explain to Vlad, the land of Bayezid consists of 12 towns and 3 cities. First is the commercial center Swara, the hub of trade. Next is the religious capital Varna, with its elaborate and aesthetic architecture. He directed Vlad's gaze to the space ahead, continuing his introduction. And right here is where the magnificent palace they were entering is located. According to Joseph, it is the central city, Sturma. So, they had arrived at the Bayezid family mansion. Inside the mansion, Jaeger, with a tense expression and crossed arms, instructed Vlad and Gerda, you are now guests of Sir Joseph. Remember, any foolish actions will affect Sir Joseph's reputation. He meticulously taught them etiquette. Don't run around like country bumpkins new to the city. Just sit still there. Vlad obediently replied, yes, sir. Next was dining. Jaeger instructed, the maids will bring the food. When they do, the two of them had huge question marks as Jaeger spoke to this point. Perhaps seeing the two kids looking too innocent, he couldn't bring himself to say it, so he cut it short. Never mind. Don't eat anything. Just wait. You'll get a bad reputation if you eat like savages. Feeling this rule was too much to bear, Vlad voiced his objection. Even so, eating a little? Just as he said that, Jaeger scolded, shut up. No eating at all. The door opened. Gerda stared dumbfounded at the space before him, which was gold everywhere. This is the living room, he praised. Bayezid is really rich, isn't it? Vlad replied as usual. I know. Suddenly, someone in the room spoke. I've never seen you before. Vlad and Gerda tried to peek in to see who the mysterious voice belonged to. That person continued, damn it, I was planning to sneak off for a nap. Tall, straight legs slowly stepped out from behind the curtain. Vlad stared blankly at the strange man. He widened his eyes, bewildered. This person? The man smiled faintly, but his expression remained somewhat cold as he asked Vlad and Gerda, who are you two? Vlad thought cautiously. He looks so familiar, but his aura is completely different. He likened the man's spirit to that of an alpha wolf, silently marveling. It's as if he could cut others in half with just a look. Gerda bowed his head and spoke first. I am Gerda. We met Sir Joseph during the expedition and... The man cut him off. Ah, so you are Gerda. He looked at Vlad and spoke, and... Vlad understood the implication and quickly introduced himself. I am Vlad from Swara. His gaze flickered. Is that so? First time hearing that name? In his mind, he thought, look at this guy. He looked at Vlad and assessed him. Those sharp eyes. Isn't he scared? So confident standing before me. He smiled faintly. It seems Joseph brought back some useful kids. I like you already. He reached into his pocket and pulled something out. Then he offered, want some beans? Vlad stared intently at the friendly hand. He bluntly refused, surprising both Gerda behind him and the person opposite. We were told not to eat anything. He repeated, we were told not to eat anything here, making Gerda beside him want to scream. He was shocked to his core by Vlad's response. What the hell? This madman. He can't refuse the kindness of someone of higher status like that. Rejected, he replied a little sadly. Is that so? Thanks to this scene, we have the shocking news of the day. Vlad from Suara's first act at the Bayezid mansion couldn't have been more impressive. It was refusing beans from Rudiger, the Count's eldest son, who invited him, even though Rudiger had enthusiastically affirmed, but it's delicious. Elsewhere, Peter Bayezid was intently writing while conversing with his second son, Joseph. Vlad, huh? Joseph replied, yes, father. There were 3 people in the room. He remembered a story from years ago. I know. No one has ever impressed you except for Jaeger, the one your mother brought. The Count made a promise to Joseph. If you can make that kid a knight as strong as the family's knights, I will reward you. Joseph bowed in obeisance. Thank you, father. Suddenly, his expression hardened as he advised, I understand you're not skilled in swordsmanship, but never forget that you bear the Bayezid name. Joseph trembled slightly before his father's majesty. Yes, father. The Count inquired, son, are you feeling better? Joseph replied, yes, father. Hearing that he told Joseph, is that so? You may go now. Before leaving, he said carringly, rest well, father. Joseph stepped out of his father's study. The Count watched his son intently, noticing his son's slow, heavy steps. So he instructed his attendant Ragmus, we should give him more medicine. The old man immediately said, I'm sure he will be very grateful for that, and Miss Oksana, too. He was silent. That woman cares for my son, doesn't she? The Count asked the old man, well, what do you think, Ragmus, about Joseph's report? The old man offered his opinion. We should take it seriously. These strange events keep happening. He was so angry that veins bulged on his forehead. We must find out who is behind these events. How dare they commit such atrocities in my territory? Ragmus pieced together the events and analyzed. Even so, the report came from Varna. Outwardly, they are a combination of resurrecting the dead and curses. The more the old man spoke, the more the Count pondered. This cannot be done. If there's only one, it would require more than 2 dark mages. The Count understood and agreed. If there are more than 2 of them, it must be a group or organization. Ragmus concurred. Yes, that's possible. He held onto the armrest of his chair and said, well, it doesn't change anything. He stood up and left, leaving only one sentence behind. Because House Bayezid will always stand firm in this place, and we are ready to deal with anyone who dares to stand in our way. The Count, with a face clearly showing a benevolent threat, said, I hope you find them soon. Daring to touch the lion's cub will obviously result in punishment. The Count uttered a curse. Whoever dares to endanger my son and cause chaos in my land. Night fell, bringing tranquility to the mansion. Jaeger and Joseph entered Goethe and Vlad's room. The report took longer than I expected. Have you been waiting long? Goethe quickly replied, no, sir. Joseph asked him, you're Goethe, aren't you? The one called out exclaimed excitedly, yes, Sir Joseph. But immediately Joseph threw cold water on him. We'll talk about your reward tomorrow. The maid will show you to your room. You should go rest. This made Goethe want to cry out as he had been hungry all day. Vlad watched Goethe pout and retreat. Yes, if so, I'll take my leave, sir. He sat down, crossed his legs, and said to Vlad with a serious attitude, now, shall we talk for a bit? He continued, you saved me and decided to offer your sword to me in the future, right? Vlad calmly acknowledged, yes, sir. He asked Vlad, you said you have a mission to complete, and I understand that means you need freedom, right? Vlad was honest. Yes? Vlad's answer made Joseph have a question. You say you will offer your sword to me while your desire for freedom contradicts it. We need to clarify this. He pressed, exactly what do you intend to do with your freedom? If you tell me, I can consider how much I can help you. Vlad was silent, his gaze sharp, but he didn't know how to explain. The moonlight outside the window shone on Joseph. Vlad uttered a title that reminded one of a formidable figure, the Blue Moon Knight. He asked Joseph, Godin of Gaidar, do you know him, sir? Joseph silently assessed Vlad. I thought he was just a talented kid. Who knew he had such a special background? He continued, the anonymous person who destroyed the rose's smile was Godwin, a knight of Gaidar. Hearing him mention that person, Vlad's gaze immediately changed. I've never forgotten the one who killed my benefactor. He is the one who ruined my life. But Vlad didn't say it to Joseph, simply replying, that's right. And moreover, he had a secret. But he is also someone I admire. Joseph was silent, his hands clasped, unsure what to say. He could only honestly tell Vlad, I'm afraid I can't help you. Those people are beyond my reach. Vlad wasn't too bothered either. I thought so too. Because deep down he understood, I've already accepted this. After all, Sir Joseph is just the Count's son. Anyway, Vlad was still glad because at least he was honest with me about that. As soon as Vlad spoke, if that's the case then, Joseph proposed another condition, just a slight change in our agreement. He made a suggestion. I propose a 7-year contract. Vlad stays in Sawara. Hearing this, Vlad was also startled and asked again, "What?" Joseph continued, "Perhaps you didn't anticipate this. I just gave up my noble pride. Making that decision wasn't easy." Vlad was as tangled as a ball of yarn and also intimidated by Jaeger's gaze. "I'm not sure anymore, but it seems he's telling the truth." He expressed his desire to accompany Vlad with a series of dreamlike benefits. "I will ensure your future because you are my benefactor. For 7 years, I will provide you with food and lodging and train you. I will turn you into an invincible knight second to none." It was lengthy, but the only thing that caught Vlad's ear was the phrase, "a knight," which left him utterly stunned. Joseph also set forth duties. "In return, I want your loyalty, and you will only follow the tasks I assign. Of course, that includes the matter related to Godwin, and matters related to the Swara Valley. That's all I can help you with." Suddenly, he also mentioned Vlad's childhood friend, the girl named Jemina who was currently in a convent. Joseph approached Vlad subtly, persuading him, "You can't achieve much with just a sword in hand. In life, many things are sharper than blades. I also have my own weapon." He inquired, "What do you say, Vlad?" The conversation had ended. Joseph gazed into the distance, expressing his feelings about Vlad. That kid is quite ambitious. Jaeger, seeing Joseph exhaust all his efforts to hold on to Vlad, also felt unwilling. "Do you really need to go this far, sir? I can always find useful children for you." How could Joseph not understand this? I know. Many talented children inherit from their birthplace, but to be able to use those abilities is another matter. He bluntly asked, "Are you sure that kid will meet your expectations, sir?" Joseph's gaze didn't waver in the slightest. It signified the absolute faith he had in Vlad after that night. "Of course, I witnessed it with my own eyes." Even so, in Jaeger's eyes, Vlad still had many shortcomings. "That kid is stubborn and headstrong. It will be very difficult to control him." Joseph was determined to believe in his choice. He said softly, "I still have you by my side, Jaeger. 7 years is also a long enough time to raise a wild beast and make it obedient." Seeing he couldn't sway, Joseph Jaeger had to accept it. "If so, I will do my best." Joseph smiled faintly. "I'm counting on you. The more skilled the kid is, the more beneficial it is for me." Looking towards the gentle moonlight, he thought of Vlad again. "I only thought he was a useful wolf." It's just that after tonight's events, he understood Vlad better. But who would have thought he was a child with the ambition to pursue even the moon? A new day dawned at the Bayezid mansion. Jaeger led Vlad to his private world within the estate. "From now on, this room is yours. It's a bit old, but you have full use of it." Vlad, however, was extremely pleased and said, "Not at all. It looks great." Vlad happily exclaimed, "The floor isn't dirty and there's even a bed. It's like a palace for me." Jaeger beside him was a little puzzled to see him so easygoing. It took Jaeger a while to figure it out. "I understand. I forgot you came from the valley and the back alleys after that. The other trainees come from well-off backgrounds, so they find it hard to adapt here." He actually teased Vlad. "It seems there's no problem at the moment unless you create one." Vlad sent a loving gaze to Jaeger, also continuing Jaeger's story about the peanut issue. Then it was because Sir Lure had... Jaeger immediately deflected. "Forget it. You didn't listen to me from the beginning anyway." Once again, Vlad looked up and glared at him, almost saying, "But you also beat me to a pulp." Then Jaeger turned and left, not forgetting to tell his junior, "After eating, meet me in the army hall. We'll practice in the morning and evening and also during marches." Jaeger was startled by the procession moving before him. The lady and her maid Savarnat approached. She greeted him, "Zeha, my loyal knight." Jaeger reminded Vlad to also be polite. "This is Lady Oksana, Sir Joseph's mother. Bow properly, as you were taught before." Vlad also bowed like Jaeger, respectfully greeting, "Hello, Lady Oksana." She calmly replied, "Good morning." The lady looked towards Vlad and inquired, "Is that the boy?" Jaeger replied, "Yes, my lady. Sir Joseph personally selected him." Oksana observed him thoughtfully and said softly, "I understand." Vlad cautiously looked at her. Before him was a noble and elegant middle-aged woman. His cheeks flushed with shyness. He felt a little awkward facing someone of such high status. She initiated conversation. "Thank you, young man. I heard you saved my son." Vlad stammered in reply, "I only did what was right, ma'am." Oksana said to Vlad, "I will reward you. You did something more wonderful than you thought." The way she treated him on their first meeting made Vlad feel grateful. "Thank you, my lady." She patted his head like a child and praised, "Your hair color is beautiful and your blue eyes too." Oksana also advised, "Although your shoulders are quite broad, you're still too thin. You'll look great if you eat well. I will prepare some clothes for you." Her enthusiasm made Vlad's cheeks flush even more. He shyly said, "Thank you, my lady." Oksana smiled faintly at the boy's obedient reaction. Then she and her entourage left, not forgetting to say to Jaeger, "Keep up the good work, Sir Zaya." He bowed respectfully. "Have a good day, my lady." Only when the lady had truly left did Vlad let out a sigh. Seeing him like that, Jaeger felt like teasing him. What was that just now? I didn't expect you to have this unusual side. Why are you so shy? He confessed, well, it's because I've never met a noblewoman before. Even so, Jaeger didn't spare his praise for Vlad. Not bad for a first appearance? And partly sympathizing with Vlad. Honestly, I'm not comfortable around the lady either. He proactively invited Vlad, let's go eat. This made Vlad doubt his own existence, but he still politely replied, yes. The two went to the army mess hall. Someone was blowing their nose, but chose a bowl of mushroom and onion soup. Vlad sat eating surrounded by several seniors. Prominent among them was the one who intentionally blew his nose into Vlad's soup. He deliberately insulted Vlad. Oops. Sorry I mistook you for a trash can because of the garbage smell coming from you. The other guys laughed loudly at his tasteless joke. Vlad really wanted to deal with him, but he chose to restrain himself by scooping that thing out. Flicking it out of his bowl with a spoon, he then leisurely ate silently, thinking, this is happening faster than I thought. Seeing him not retaliate, everyone frowned in annoyance, especially the instigator. He was furious. What's wrong with this Bayezid Tard? How can he be so calm? Actually, he was remembering Jaeger's warning. From this moment on, you are a guest brought by Sir Joseph. Any foolish action can affect his reputation. So, be careful. And that's why he had to calculate carefully, how can I beat these fools without affecting Sir Joseph? So he angrily left, even leaving a taunt. You'll see me again soon. But Vlad spoke up. What's your name? He was surprised. What? Vlad repeated with a bullet-like gaze, his voice also strained. I said, what's your name? He suddenly became fearful. What kind of killing intent is this? His face paled and he softly replied, it's Sobanin. Vlad repeated, Sobanin. He also sent a few words to Sobanin's gang. I'll remember this name. Count Peter and his attendants went to observe the situation. He turned his head, noticing a corner. It was the swordsman training area. Seeing everyone diligently practicing, he remarked with satisfaction, it seems all the trainees are participating in the sparring session. Ragmus stepped forward to stand beside him. Peter then said, watch a little longer. The old man didn't refuse. Yes, sir. Suddenly Peter's gaze was drawn to a figure. It was Vlad staring into the distance. He asked Ragmus, is that the child? I heard that child has blonde hair. The Count assessed him. He looked sharp. Ragmus noticed something strange and informed Peter, Master, please take a look. The old man had discovered it. Someone is hiding and watching us. According to his sharp senses, his speculation was not wrong. It must be Jaeger. That child must have bothered him. Well, at this point, the Count had an idea. He said, should we go take a look? Because he himself also wanted to test the talent of the person his son trusted. Swinging the sword path was like a raging storm. Vlad and his sparring partner were fiercely clashing. One defended, the other waited for an opportunity to attack, alternating like that. It seemed his sparring partner was starting to tire. He grimaced and hissed as he had to resist Vlad's powerful counterattacks. Peter also saw this. He quite liked Vlad's spirit. Wow, so combative even though his opponent is twice his size. The Count muttered, so reckless. Ragmus beside him was surprised. Really, Master? He indirectly answered by analyzing, but at the same time he also has courage. He's using whatever he has learned in actual combat. Indeed, he was always a person with a strong learning spirit. Proof was that he always remembered the teaching, remember this, Vlad. That lesson was simply every sword fight starts from the feet. Relying on leg strength, he could sow fear. Vlad might not be muscular, but that's why he could always level his opponents. Next were Vlad's always sharp gestures and demeanor, corresponding to his secret technique of influencing his opponent with movements of his feet, shoulders, and even his gaze. But that wasn't enough to win completely. Proof was that Vlad's sparring partner was now attacking him, shouting, take this. It was time for Vlad to apply another lesson. He could control his opponent with his movements. And just as the opponent was about to swing his sword at him, Vlad, with lightning speed, immediately shifted to one side, successfully dodging. His sparring partner was stunned by the momentary lapse, thinking he had it in the bag. Vlad, taking advantage of his opponent's bewilderment, lunged forward. His sword strike quickly knocked back his opponent. He cried out in pain, clutching his stomach, thinking, I'm sure he was aiming for the left side, not him. Still fuming from the defeat, he was then grabbed by the head by Vlad, the pain making him cry out. Vlad spoke from behind. Sobanin's lackey yesterday. You had a lot of fun laughing at me in the mess hall. He aggressively challenged, laugh again. But how could he still smile brightly when his face was punched until his nose bled? The onlookers watched this scene, also breaking out in a cold sweat from fear. They marveled at the sight of him being beaten to a pulp by Vlad. Ragmus, standing on the railing, also had to exclaim, oh dear, we can't let the kids fight like this in sparring. The Count shook his head again. Just let them be. To become a knight, strong determination is needed. He glanced toward Jaeger. The boy over there seems quite satisfied with the result. Indeed, Jaeger's eyes were also very refreshed and sparkling, so Ragmus immediately saw it. Oh, it seems that's true. The captain, seeing the situation becoming increasingly tense, ran out to intervene. Stop, stop. That person shouted, I said stop. Are you ignoring my orders? Vlad was still going at full speed, even though his gloves were soaked with fresh blood. Finally, he agreed to spare the other guy. Vlad stood there proudly ignoring everything, even though he had beaten his opponent until he was gasping on the ground. Then he turned back with an unfriendly gaze and a strained voice. I'm sorry I lost control. The captain, realizing it, also had to think fearfully. Look, what is it? Vlad strode away arrogantly, ignoring the other guy being helped by the captain or the attention of everyone behind. He returned to his spot at the same time catching Sabanan's gaze directed at him. Vlad immediately challenged, send my regards to your lackeys. I easily lose control when I get caught up in something that excites me. Sabanan, hearing Vlad's taunt, gritted his teeth and cursed, you son of a bitch. But he didn't want to get involved with Vlad anymore, so he spoke up. Let me apologize to you first. But Vlad wasn't an easygoing person, so he replied, I won't let you off so easily. And when I find the right seasoning, I'll call you. Sabanan was terrified, his face contorted with worry. This guy is crazy. Looking at Vlad's savage expression, he thought to himself, Sir Joseph has brought a mad dog back from the alleys. Gerda sat eating with Vlad, conveniently asking, Captain, I heard you beat up some trainees. Rumors spread among Servarnats like us. Vlad ignored the question, chewing on a sausage while deflecting to Gerda's matters. What about you? Is working in the stables all right? As if hitting the right talkative nerve, Gerda enthusiastically recounted, Of course, do you think I work in an ordinary stable? No way, I take care of Count Bayezid's stables, you know? After saying that, he realized, wait, that's not important right now. He returned to the old topic. I heard you beat up those kids in every manor you visited. That's a crime, you know. Vlad continued to calmly chew his food until his cheeks bulged nonchalantly, replying, Why are you surprised by that? Gerda listened to Vlad explain, Have you forgotten I've always been someone living a life full of sin? Beating them is just a natural act of violence. Only then did he let it go. Oh, right. I forgot about that. Vlad continued. Besides, I didn't beat them skillfully, nor did I leave very clear evidence. It's also partly because they started the fight first. Goethe then asked, How do you think that will work out? Yet Vlad was strangely carefree. Now look around, who dares to cause trouble with us anymore? Isn't it more comfortable? Suddenly someone from behind spoke. Hello? He was carrying a tray of food, stammering an introduction. I'm Potre, Canoraire. Vlad looked at the chubby young man. Are you looking for me for something? Potre was so nervous he hesitated for a long time, making Vlad impatiently say, Sit down or get lost. Don't just stand there like a log. But Potre misunderstood, thinking Vlad wanted to invite him to sit together, and delightedly said, Oh, really? So he sat next to Vlad gratefully. Thank you for asking me to sit. This annoyed Vlad greatly, but he didn't dare say it. I meant for him to disappear. Potre recounted, I've always eaten alone since I came here in places like the bathroom. It sounded a bit gross, so Vlad subtly reminded him, I'm eating right now. Can't you see? This was my precious sausage at that time. Don't spoil my appetite. Once again, Potre didn't get the point. Ah, that dish is delicious, isn't it? Speaking of sausages, Potre also had another topic of conversation. My father is a meat supplier here. Our Canor family supplies all kinds of meat and many meat products to various places in the kingdom. My family has been raising poultry and livestock for many generations. He even generously offered, I saw you earlier maybe asking for more sausages. Would you like some? Vlad got annoyed because Potre was bothering him. What are you talking about? Do you think this will make me? But when Potre led him to the treasure trove of meat and sausages, he wasn't angry anymore. Potre had brought the two to his place. My father brought a lot of meat here for me to eat, but it's a bit much for me to eat all of this alone. Hearing this, Vlad remembered all the trainees here were young masters from wealthy families. I forgot they are people I could never talk to if I stayed in the alley. Having at least a few good relationships with these people wouldn't hurt. So Vlad played a role in a face-changing movie and proactively made friends. Potre, from now on, do you want to eat with us? As for Goethe, meat had clouded his vision. He had been drooling with desire for a while. Potre was excitedly grateful, still disbelieving and having to ask again. Really? I can eat with you guys. Goethe really needed to be taught some shame as he was about to drool a puddle over the food. At least Vlad pretended to take Potre's hand. Of course, trainees should get along. Even though this turmoil was quite obvious, I'm not doing this for a few sausages. Walking down the long corridor, Jaeger strolled leisurely, while complaining inwardly. Serving Sir Joseph and training new recruits isn't a problem, but it's a bit tiring. Now I only get to rest when Cade and Maxime recover. Sir Jaeger, a man approached and called out to him. Jaeger turned to look at the person. Where are you going in such a hurry, sir? That person was Gregory, currently wearing a friendly smile and asking Jaeger where he was going. Sir Gregory, Jaeger said to Gregory with a grimace, cursing inwardly. What new trouble is this? Gregory chuckled with delight. Ha ha ha, you're clearly showing your displeasure, he cheerfully teased. Jaeger remained calm and replied, As you can see, I'm very busy. Gregory smiled brightly, waving his hand in understanding of Jaeger's hardship. I'm not surprised. To complete Sir Joseph's tasks, one must be very busy. I understand that. Do you want to say something to me? Sir Jaeger asked. Gregory smiled and advised, someone like you should have attendants to help with work. Honestly, I think it's not too late for you to do that. Why don't you mind your own business, sir? Suddenly bringing up attendants here, Jaeger retorted. My boys are all plump and well. They should lose some weight. Gregory feigned ignorance. What do you mean by that, sir? Jaeger spoke with confusion. It's Vlad. That kid seems to get along well with me. Beads of sweat started to form on Gregory's forehead, his eyes evasive. His expression extremely forced, a confident and brave manly personality this time. He completely turned his face away, not daring to meet Jaeger's gaze. I said, I'm very busy. Get to the point, sir. Jaeger was starting to lose patience. He fundamentally didn't want to listen to the person in front of him beat around the bush. Gregory looked a bit embarrassed, trying to explain to Jaeger, your father knows a knight interfering in the affairs of attendants isn't very proper. I'm also a bit ashamed. Vlad doesn't seem to be getting proper attention. Jaeger crossed his arms with a serious expression. That kid has no friends. He thinks he's better than others, so he chooses to be alone. Gregory earnestly pleaded, please, just tell him that many people care about him. I mean, he's also my nephew. I can't let him suffer like that forever. But asking you to tell him that makes me a bit embarrassed. At this point, his initial smiling expression became increasingly difficult to maintain. You mean, I'll help for free? Sir Jaeger glanced coldly. If everything goes according to my wishes, I'll owe you this favor. Hearing Jaeger say that, he knew Jaeger had agreed to help him. He pounded his chest, his eyes confidently affirming Jaeger. That kid really doesn't listen to what I say. Jaeger, as if something was hard to describe, looked away. But that kid works well. Gregory spoke up for Vlad. Jaeger was troubled and confused. I've told you he doesn't listen to my advice. He really does a lot of things, yet you keep saying that. Gregory answered confidently. Bright sunlight shone through every small crack in the door, illuminating a small stable. From what I see, the problem isn't with you, Captain. The problem is you can't ride a horse. All the horses here are very well trained. They are not afraid of people. Yet when you approached them, they ran away. Goethe wondered, puzzled. Vlad could only sit silently beside him, listening to his ramblings. This isn't a matter of skill. There's something very strange. Even the other horse handlers say the same thing I do. Damn it, Vlad cursed. He was extremely annoyed and thought to himself, it's always like this. Dogs, cats, all animals hate me. They always run away as soon as I get close. Now even horses are like that. He couldn't figure out why I was like that. Suddenly, Vlad seemed to remember something. Vlad thought back to that night. But I rode Sir Jaeger's horse that day, on the night we fled from those zombies. You rode it with me too. Sir Jaeger's horse is very expensive, and it's also a battle-hardened war horse, Goethe explained. Vlad once again fell into an indescribable state of contemplation. Can I only ride skilled, battle-hardened, and expensive horses? I can't say that to others. I must learn to ride a horse at any cost. He clutched his head in distress. As the two were sitting and talking, a maid Savarnat entered from outside. Her face was extremely calm. Lady Oksana summons you. Lady Oksana summons me, he asked in surprise. In the luxurious gold-plated room, Oksana cheerfully chatted with Vlad. She sat demurely on an eye-catching long chair. Looking at you now, who would think you grew up in the slums? That outfit suits you very well. Vlad stood stiffly, so much so that he trembled while listening to her speak. Don't make it too tight, make it a little loose. He's only 17 and still growing. Joseph was also growing fast at this age. She gently turned to instruct her subordinate. Oksana's red lips curved slightly. When summer comes, I'll have another outfit made for you. After all, seasonal clothes will help you maintain your physique and move better. Thank you, my lady. He shyly bowed his head, his face flushing red. She remained modest. You saved my son's life. I'm the one who should be thanking you. I apologize for calling you while you were busy training. You may go now. After everything was done, she let him leave. Yes, thank you very much. He politely bowed his head in respectful thanks. He went outside and carefully closed the door. Fu facing the lady is too much pressure. He let out a long sigh as if a burden had been lifted. I wonder how much this outfit is worth. It's so comfortable, I can't believe it's mine now. But being this happy isn't like my old self anymore. He looked down at the clothes in his hand, feeling a bit dazed. I can't just keep being comfortable like this. I've trained hard to get into the Bayezid family, but there's something that still makes me feel like I don't belong here. He thought as he walked. It seems I've gained weight. Comfort has made me lose my motivation to strive. Vlad's sorrowful eyes glanced out the window. Outside in the courtyard below, there was a fight going on. This pig, have you forgotten what this is? A brown-haired guy was continuously hitting a young man who was curled up on the ground. Sobanin raised his hand, wanting to land another punch on the person below, his expression brutal and terrifying. This is the price for a peaceful life. Now get used to it. You must like your new friends, huh? Potri Kanor could only lie still and endure, not daring to resist. Are all you pieces of trash gathering together? Just looking at you makes my eyes itch. He continuously hit him, his mouth ceaselessly cursing. Vlad had taken in everything. No matter where human nature remains, the same those living comfortably and those who cannot live peacefully. He sadly assessed. In short, the stronger ones are just bullying those weaker than themselves. Thinking this, a blue light flashed in his eyes, both cold and punitive. He slung his coat over his shoulder and left without looking back. I think I'll wear this outfit for today only. It was dark. A shimmering, mystical blue light surrounded the house. Someone approached the room and knocked on the door. Who is it? A faint voice echoed from inside the room. It's me. Vlad spoke up to confirm his identity. Vlad. Potri Connor, knowing who it was, felt completely relieved. Vlad looked at him without speaking. What are you doing here now? Potri Connor looked at him with his swollen profile picture. I need something from you. Give it to me. Vlad pointed behind Potri Connor. Ham-free. But I like it too, Potri Connor wondered. Vlad then hummed to confirm what he wanted. Even if we're not as close friends as I'd like, I've always hoped we could be a little friendlier than this. Potri Connor felt restless. I guess he's just exploiting me like the others. Even so, his face fell and he didn't say a word. This is still better than eating alone there. At least later I can rely on him for something. Potri Connor thought while taking a piece of ham and giving it to Vlad. Here you go. Don't think negatively. I'll give you something worthy of this. Vlad seemed to be consoling Potri Connor. He was astonished by Vlad's words. A knight I know said this, Vlad said thoughtfully. A knight only accepts payment worthy of his efforts. Vlad was currently holding his sword facing a series of other knights. 14 against 1, even a fight in the slums, isn't this crowded? Shut up. Let's see how long you can keep up that stubborn spirit, Sobanin warned with a ferocious expression. Vlad raised his index finger provocatively. Come on, hurry up. I've gone to the trouble of coming here. Shouldn't you guys do something useful? Sobanin was so furious his jaw contorted. Kill him. He shouted loudly, then attacked Vlad. I'm glad you guys understood my meaning. Vlad laughed coldly. Blood will flow tonight. Vlad took his stance, his sharp, cold, and brutal gaze like the sword in his hand. One guy was hit until his cheek was turned. Then another took a full hook to the stomach. The continuous punches made the trainees watching from behind extremely terrified. Meanwhile, Sobanin stood outside, loudly directing, Hey, don't retreat like that. He's touching us. Block him over there. Surround him. Damn it. Looking at the situation now, he was a bit surprised. Damn it. Compared to the duel, this guy is completely different. How can that be? He's only been holding a sword for 2 months. Then Sobanin scowled and roared threateningly. Don't retreat. Remember, whoever dares to retreat, I'll kill. Right after his words, Vlad lunged forward as fast as the wind before Sobanin could even realize. Vlad's cold blue eyes glanced at him, accompanied by a challenging statement. You dare to say it, but do you dare to do it? If you're brave, then come at me. Sobanin was stunned, then grabbed his sword and swung it hard. You madman? What are you blabbering about? He immediately slashed towards Vlad, but Vlad was very agile and dodged the strike. Vlad quickly returned to an offensive stance, his mind racing. Throughout the entire expedition, I only focused all my strength on delivering each blow without carefully observing the situation. One of his sword strikes was very powerful. It made Sobanin, who was blocking, grimace. The fight was intense. Fatal slashes were delivered continuously. The sound of the two swords clashing rang out deafeningly. Right. Training with Jaeger has yielded good results. Continue to trap the opponent with the distance I create, then find his weakness. Just as Sobanin could no longer withstand his continuous slashes, Vlad took advantage of his opening, hitting him until he couldn't even speak a complete sentence. Each of Vlad's sword strikes was very decisive. Sobanin could no longer block them. I understand now. The gap. The space. The rhythm of breathing. He swung his sword wildly and fell. At that moment, he took a full slash from Vlad and my rhythm. He fell head over heels to the ground in pain. Sobanin frowned and cried out, tears welling in his eyes. My leg. Vlad seemed to lose control, raising his sword to strike down. He screamed in fear, 2 streams of tears flowing down his face. Without a moment's hesitation, he thrust straight down. A terrified scream rang out. The trainees seeing this were also extremely horrified. Sobanin's body was trembling uncontrollably. Beside his face was Vlad's sword. He thrust the sword very close to Sobanin's head, facing him. His cold eyes looked down at Sobanin with a warning, never look into my eyes again, and don't cause trouble with Fatty, understand? Sobanin, still terrified, trembled, unable to speak. Vlad was speaking very seriously. In his line of sight, Vlad raised his sword while still giving him an extremely cold look. Above his head was a beautiful full moon. But Sobanin could only tremble in fear at this moment. This guy really intends to kill me. After everything was done, Vlad stood up from Sobanin. So, I've finished Ramon's business. His blue eyes glanced at the trainees coldly and spoke. Anyone else? You guys have to pay for what you've done right. As soon as the trainees heard that, they raised their swords, wary and fearful. Vlad's eyes lit up strangely. He approached the group, leaving only one sentence before attacking. If no one is willing to step forward, then I guess I'll have to proactively find an opponent. All the trainees were pale with fear. They shivered as if they had just encountered a demon. Immediately after, blood splattered continuously, accompanied by terrified screams. At the same time, a black figure appeared behind the glass, silently watching the chaotic scene outside. He was Peter Bayzid. He had been standing there observing everything. Truly special. At the monthly meeting of the knights, the surrounding scenery was extremely luxurious and magnificent. A long line of knights, all with extremely serious expressions. It's unknown if it was intentional, but on one side were the knights supporting Rudiger. The other side followed Joseph's faction. And there were the neutrals. A solemn voice rang out at the meeting as if making an announcement, and the person reading was the captain of the night squad. Antalis, the work schedule has been rearranged to prepare for Rudiger's absence and the knights about to embark on new missions. While Antalis was reading, Peter Bayzid was glancing at the situation below. Next is the distribution of holy relics sent by the church. He looked at them while thinking to himself, today the atmosphere has completely changed. Peter Bayzid seemed to be assessing the situation, looking at both sides and evaluating. Those who follow Rudiger look very resentful. It seems they could tear others apart right here. Then he looked towards Jaeger and Brodan, who looked smug. In contrast, Joseph sighed. Peter Bayzid thought for a moment and smirked to himself. Actually, it's good news. After all, it's been a long time since the knights of Joseph's faction regained their morale. At that moment, Jaeger seemed to notice him and glanced over. He looked quite happy at this moment. Peter also looked back at him. Seeing this, Jaeger couldn't help but wonder, is the Count smiling? A while later, at the end of the meeting, the chandelier on the ceiling seemed to be shining under the heavy light. Antalis announced, so the meeting ends here. All knights are requested to review their missions. Immediately after, everyone stepped out in a procession. The ones following Rudiger were very angry and glared at Jaeger. You brought a mad dog here that likes to bite indiscriminately, didn't you? That's why people say family background is very important. He only glanced back at them without saying a word. The group, seeing his attitude, became even angrier. Seeing the situation seemed to be getting tense, someone in Rudiger's group clicked their tongue. Don't cause trouble anymore. Let's go. One of them seemed to have guessed something. So, that's his subordinate. Next, Gregory walked up behind Jaeger and laughed loudly. It seems they're driven mad. Jaeger was puzzled. What do you mean, sir? Hearing that, Gregory quickly joked, come on, you know very well. Why are you acting so innocent? Good news travels fast. He seemed very happy talking and laughing brightly. I heard Vlad performed a grand exorcism ritual. The trainer even said he couldn't teach him because he exceeded the standards. Jaeger seemed to know nothing. He thought for a moment, then nonchalantly replied, is that so? That guy is actually a lot of trouble. Gregory was very excited and pounded his chest. Thank you, Sir Jaeger. As promised, I will undertake a mission with you. No matter how arduous or difficult it is, I will not back down. Jaeger turned and left, waving his hand. I'll remember these words. Although he didn't show it on the outside, he was very happy inside. The boy makes me so proud. It's not very surprising. Who taught him anyway? He should at least be like that. In the simple room opposite the window, there was a suit of armor. Joseph Bayzid stood there admiring the armor and spoke, this is a gift from father to Vlad. Jaeger stood beside him doubtful. The Count himself prepared it. Brodan was a bit surprised, staring intently at the armor. He's truly generous to his subordinates. Jaeger stared intently at the suit of armor. That's OC fur. It must be gray OC. Hearing that, Joseph immediately replied, that's right. Gray OCs only appear in the north, so armor made from gray OC fur is also a symbol of northern warriors. Joseph Bayzid crossed his arms and voiced his speculation, father must like him very much. I guess he himself has also proven himself worthy. After all, father approved of him as a knight after only a month. Jaeger immediately affirmed, that's right, at least no young subordinate can compare to him now. Joseph stood there, arms crossed, replying to Jaeger's words, I've heard it too. Rumors have spread everywhere. A moment later, Joseph Bayzid took out a letter and held it up. I can't just sit still either. Jaeger looked at the letter puzzled and spoke, what is that? He quickly explained to the two of them, the next step we need to take. Jaeger picked up the letter and began to read its contents. This isn't an ordinary invitation. Joseph Bayzid looked at him and asked, can you reply for me, sir? Jaeger also looked back at him very seriously. Yes, I've also been feeling quite stressed lately. After dealing with him, I also have to clean up the things he trapped. Everything was arranged. He was a bit happy. Very good. So it's decided. Finally, Joseph Bayzid announced to the two of them, we will go to Dima. In a place with beautiful scenery, the green of the trees and the brilliant sunlight, Joseph Bayzid's carriage procession was here. He and Vlad were sitting in the carriage. After a moment of silence, he began to introduce, Dima is famous for its paintings. It's a cherished city because northerners rarely get to eat fruit. Joseph Bayzid rested his chin on his hand, a slight smile on his lips, as he continued, it's also one of the routes leading to the central region. This is a very important trade route. Vlad quickly asked, is that why Sir Jaeger acted? Joseph also quickly answered, that's right. Crisis is also opportunity, especially when it's not our crisis. He maintained that posture and continued to recount, the Heinel family is in the process of inheriting their estate. An invitation from the official heir is similar to a plea for help. Hearing these things, Vlad could only sigh dejectedly and reply, "The upper class is truly complicated." Joseph Bayezid was too used to it and said casually, "In the end, it's just a fight for the land of Dima," Vlad said with no expression. "And it's also between blood relatives." He completely downplayed everything and said, "It's because internal strife is a long-standing tradition of the nobility. The official heir of the Hainal family, Alicia, her uncle Endre Hainal says she's illegitimate. Then she disappears, and he will surely become the next Baron Hainal. Alicia is the only child of the late Baron Hainal, but because she's a woman, her support Bayezid isn't solid at all. In the end, she had no other choice but to participate in a duel organized by the church." Joseph Bayezid suddenly fell into contemplation, thinking to himself, "A distant yet close relative, but not too close. She's my 8th cousin on my mother's side, but that's enough to be close." He sat cross-legged and affirmed, "We will seize this opportunity to make the Heinel family indebted to us. My father has also agreed to this." Vlad, sitting opposite, replied, "I understand." He looked at Jaeger riding outside and thought to himself, "Impressive. A knight invited by the head of a family to uphold their honor." Jaeger outside suddenly looked at him and said annoyedly, "What are you looking at?" Hearing that, Vlad replied, "I'm not doing anything." But the rider outside replied, extremely annoyed, "A lowly vassal like you gets to sit comfortably in a carriage, and the knight you're serving has to ride a horse." He replied slowly, somewhat listlessly, "I have nothing to say." Jaeger's eyes turned cold as he glanced over his words full of annoyance. "Only after you defeat the other vassals can I proudly show my face. But what about now? You don't even know how to ride a horse." The man outside continued to babble incessantly. "I can't believe I'm teaching a fool like you." Vlad hung his head, struggling to answer, "Expensive and good horses, I can probably ride them, I guess." Vlad's last sentence made Jaeger angrily shout, "I'm the one who should be riding the expensive and good horse. I'm much more noble than you." Suddenly, Vlad felt something. He placed his hand on his chest, puzzled and pondered. "What's wrong with me? My heart has been pounding these past few days. Is it because of the scolding?" Vlad's face clearly showed fatigue. "It's not very surprising." He looked at Joseph opposite him and thought to himself, "Sir Joseph keeps talking non-stop in front of me." Then he glanced at the rider with an apparently angry face and thought further, "And beside him, Sir Jaeger keeps scolding." Suddenly, Vlad senses something, and a silent warning goes off in his head. A strong tremor forces the convoy to stop. He sitting inside the carriage is also astonished. "An earthquake," Broden says, looking a bit stunned. "The ground is shaking. This unexpected event causes everyone to panic." Jaeger immediately becomes alert and shouts, "Everyone spread out! Get off your horses now!" Hearing this, the soldiers quickly dismount. Annoyed, Vlad kicks the carriage door open. Damn it. He quickly pulls Joseph Bayezid out of the carriage, shouting, "Lord Joseph, move away!" He is astonished and speechless at this moment. When he calms down, Joseph Bayezid looks at Vlad and says, "Your sincerity is very precious, but don't worry too much." He doesn't understand his words and asks blankly, "What?" After a while, it seems the tremor has ended, so Brodan lifts his head and announces, "It's over." Looking at the situation, Vlad sighs in relief and says, "This is the first time I've experienced an earthquake." Joseph Bayezid beside him quickly interjects, "That wasn't an earthquake." Immediately after, someone shouts, "Look." Then another voice, clearly astonished at the sight before them, exclaims, "Oh, the ground." A large, long creature emerges from beneath the ground. Someone knowledgeable there explains, "It's a giant death worm. It's a remnant of a dragon." Undisguised astonishment appears on Vlad's face as he hears this information and thinks to himself, a remnant of a dragon. He can't help but smirk at that moment. With an excited smile, he says, "Sounds amazing." A while later, at the only city of the Heinel family, Dima, a magnificent building stands tall before them. It is also the destination of Joseph Bayezid's convoy. Before entering the building, he tells him, "Vlad, from now on, you can act freely." This makes him a bit curious, and he asks again, "Alone?" He looks at him and continues, "You can go with that Gerda fellow if you want. Just go and see many sights." As soon as Joseph Bayezid finishes his sentence, Vlad thinks in confusion, Freedom? Is that possible?" Seeing him seem to be wondering something, he immediately asks, "Are you not satisfied?" Vlad stammers a bit and reply, "No, of course I want to, but..." Joseph Bayezid coldly interrupts, looking at Vlad and saying, "Think about why I brought you here." He quickly gives him some information. A duel of honor is a rare event, not to mention this time it's also a team match. There are also many knights from different places gathered. This information from Joseph Bayezid makes Vlad feel pressured, and he adds another sentence, "Observe them and learn." He looks intently at him, pondering, "Seeing is believing." I want to train him properly, so I hope he can broaden his experience this way. Jaeger, who had been silent until now, speaks up to advise, "Don't go getting beaten up in some alley." "Okay. We also have to prepare for a fight tonight." Hearing his words, Vlad helplessly replies slowly, "I'm not that stupid." Jaeger's reply is extremely heartless. "No, I've lost all faith in you. You don't even know how to ride a horse. Every night you will report to me. If you discover anything unusual, you must report it immediately." Vlad quickly straightens up and replies, "Understood." After those two leave, he looks at the road ahead and tells himself, "I finally have some free time. I should take a walk around." Vlad walks around to explore the building and silently remarks, "Smaller than the Byzede mansion. It looks old too. Haven't they upgraded this place?" He glances at another building and recalls famous for paintings. Huh? It doesn't look very prosperous either. Suddenly, his hand unconsciously grips the sword at his hip. Then the sound of the sword rings out. It seems I've been to this place before. The words make Vlad look up, and then another sound is heard. "I remember that tree on the hill." He smiles, and then gently speaks, "I need to find a place to pray." On that high hill, a grave surrounded by gentle sunlight lies quietly. The scene before him brings a saying to mind. "I will give you the sword, and you will give me memories. I've taken enough. It's time to give back." In another scene, in a room that looks gloomy but light streaming through the window lessens the room's somberness. A voice breaks the atmosphere. "Thank you for coming all this way, Lord Joseph Byzede." He is standing opposite the girl, sitting on the chair, and replies, "Of course I must help the official heir. What's more important than blood ties?" His voice gently calls the name of the girl opposite him. Lady Alicia. He calmly recounts a few things to her. Count Byzede has given permission. "Now, we just await your decision." Alicia Heinal just clasps her hands together and slowly replies, "I've changed my mind. Everything will follow the Count's intentions." Then she pauses for a moment and seriously adds, "Of course only if I win the match." Joseph Byzede's attitude is extremely certain as he replies, "You don't need to worry about that, because the Byzede family's sword always wins." Time passes, the sky gradually darkens to a sunset hue. One of the three people is walking on the long staircase. Brodan speaks up. She cannot be underestimated. Jaeger, walking beside, continues. She has the demeanor of a family head. It seems risky, but she seems quite capable. Finally, even Joseph Byzede speaks up and says, "I think so too. She maintained the initiative until the very end." Even so, he suddenly stops walking. With a cold expression on his face, he adds, "Then our plan remains the same." Vlad is on the hill standing before the grave when a thought suddenly crosses his mind. All that's left are memories. Perhaps that's why humans want their traces to be recorded. Because when looking at deeply etched traces, those memories come flooding back. Vlad's face is contemplative as he speaks. "I wish I could have done more for Mom like this before." He kneels on one knee, bowing his head towards the tombstone, and says, "It seems this grave hasn't been tended to for a while." He reaches out to brush away the dry leaves on the tombstone. He grips the sword as if sensing something, then can't help but speak out in indignation. Anyway, showing respect to the Lord is also normal. The sword immediately retorts, "I haven't said anything at all, you know?" Then he draws the sword from its sheath and says, "Now, let's see, sir. I didn't come to meet the knights. I came here at your request." The sword, hearing this, immediately replies, "Thank you." He sticks the sword into the ground and falls silent as if praying for something. This action changed the atmosphere. A figure appears behind Vlad. The sound of the sword immediately announces, "Something seems to be returning to me." While he is kneeling and sensing the voice of the sword continues to convey, "Before I thought this tree was smaller than this. Since when has it become this big? It seems I've been here with someone before." The mysterious figure behind seems to recognize something and emits a killing aura. Immediately after the sword informs Vlad, "It seems something is observing us. It must know me." He opens his eyes in slight astonishment and replies, "What?" Suddenly, the sword asks a question. "Can I borrow your body for a moment?" Vlad hesitates slightly, but still replies, "Sure, if it's just for a bit." He closes his eyes and slowly says, "Come on." A streak of blue light appears around Vlad's eyes. Then he opens his right eye and a surge of power emanates from Vlad's body, Suddenly he looks astonished. His tone becomes hesitant. "What is that?" In front, the sight Vlad is seeing is a white serpent. Its flickering eyes are staring intently at him. The voice of the sword speaks doubtfully. "Is that a spirit?" The serpent spirit is sticking out its long tongue. Vlad looks at it before him and thinks to himself, "I've seen too many unusual things in this kingdom. Already haven't I?" He voices his suspicion. "I think it's looking at me." The sword immediately explains to Vlad, "It's looking at me, the one inside you." Seeing the serpent spirit slithering down, he says, in fear, "It's coming down here." But the sword is very calm and says, "I don't think it will bite you," which makes Vlad's face turn a little pale as he asks doubtfully, "How do you know?" Suddenly, he notices something and hesitantly speculates, "Wait a minute, thinking about it. Although it looks a bit strange and is also big, I don't feel any threat from it." He sees a beautiful blue light appear between him and the serpent, making him realize that it feels so warm like the wind on a hilltop. Suddenly, a voice breaks the atmosphere. "Who are you causing Vlad's shining blue eyes to slowly disappear?" The image of the serpent spirit also vanishes. The newly arrived girl is still warily asking, "How did you get here?" But Vlad remains completely silent, not answering. Alicia Heinal, in simple attire visiting the grave, looks at him coldly and warns no one outside the Heinal family is allowed here. Her words quickly make him flustered, and he explains, I'm sorry, I was looking for a quiet place to pray and found this spot. She still questions him suspiciously, praying. Then to prove himself, Vlad takes out a card and says, I'm not a stranger. I am a knight squire to Lord Jaeger. Alicia Heinel stares at the card for a moment before slowly replying, all right then, so you're not a stranger, here are you? As if relieved of tension, Vlad immediately says, thank you, miss. But then the air becomes very quiet as neither of them says a word to each other. Suddenly, Vlad thinks of something. I guess I was a bit rude standing in front of a noble's grave like that, huh? If this woman says something random that gets back to the city, I'll put Lord Joseph in a difficult situation. Just thinking about what Jaeger would do to him made him feel immense pressure. Then I'd be in trouble too. I should say something so she stops asking. Thought and done. Vlad straightforwardly asks Alicia Heinal a question. Do you need my help with anything? She doesn't understand and asks again, what? He immediately voices his own speculation. You're a Sir Varnat, aren't you? Aren't you here to tend to the grave? Alicia looks at him slightly surprised. Vlad continues. I tidied up a bit before you arrived. The fallen leaves have been gathered over there. What he said made her hesitate and ask again. You cleaned it all. Upon hearing her words, he immediately replied, I feel I should show respect to the Lord. He walks past Alicia smiling and says, just let me do it. However, he doesn't forget his purpose and slowly barters. But I have a request. Can we let today's matter slide? Vlad, losing some control, blurts out some nonsense. If Lord Jaeger finds out I'm here, he'll go crazy. But Alicia Heinal chuckles at his words. She turns her head, looking haughty, and states a condition. Perhaps if you clear the weeds from this grave, I'll reconsider. Vlad can't help but angrily curse in his heart. Damn it, beautiful women are so hard to please. But then he can only pout and clean the grave, which makes her smile at him again. A gentle breeze blows past the two of them in the warm sunset scene. Sometime later, at a magnificent building, the sound of swords and shields clashing makes Vlad, hiding behind a wall, gape in awe. Amazing. He watches the two people dueling and thinks in amazement. So this is a match between capable knights in the kingdom. The sword at his hip speaks up in praise. Pretty good. Vlad watches their match intently and asks again, you mean Lord Colin? Vlad watches him launching an attack. In his ear, the sword narrates, if he fought you, you would have been cut in half instantly. He watches him intently sweating. He's really strong. He lives up to his name as the Boar of the Midlands. However, when Vlad observes through Pablo, he frankly says, but I find Lord Pablo more impressive with his solid defensive techniques. Hearing that the sword explains to him again, his shield technique is excellent. He uses just enough force to repel most attacks. Watching the two of them, Vlad thinks to himself, I didn't think tomorrow's practice match would be this intense. Then he asks, do you think one has to be this skilled to become a knight? To help him visualize the sword quickly suggests someone to him, Lord Broden is also a knight, you know? Just thinking of him. Vlad's face darkens as he retorts, wait a minute, not all knights are the same, are they? He silently makes a resolution in his heart and stands up straight. I didn't think much when I was still in Sawara, but I have to know everything from now on. My position in this world, I need to be even better. Vlad seems to be trying to create pressure, reminding himself inwardly, I still have a long way to go. I still have to try hard. On the day of the match, Vlad adjusts Jaeger's armor. Suddenly he speaks up saying, tighten it more, kid. He quickly replies, yes, sir. Vlad glances to the other side and sees a man with blue hair and a smug face. He thinks to himself, so he's the one planning to usurp the inheritance, and that blue-haired man's name is Andre Heinal. Jaeger suddenly speaks up to advise him, open your eyes wide. It's not every day you get to witness a match between knights of such strength. Vlad, while adjusting his armor, replies, yes, sir. After the reminder, Jaeger's voice softens a bit as he says, and I don't know what happened yesterday, but don't worry about it anymore. Vlad looks at him slightly surprised. Seeing his expression, Jaeger immediately explains why so surprised. It's written all over your face. Vlad is surprised because he always compares himself to the people here. This makes Vlad feel insecure and think to himself, honestly, I was very surprised. In the end, the skills of the knights I'm watching, I see they have strength truly completely superior to me. He closes his eyes tightly and advises, a child should start by walking. You're not ready to run yet. The higher the goal, the harder you have to try. Each of his words seems to awaken his hidden strength. Vlad is silent for a moment, then slowly replies, I understand, sir. Suddenly a shout rings out. Everyone bow. The great door of the arena is opening. He, like everyone else, looks up to see. At this moment, Vlad can't help but think. The Heinal family head thinking about it. I've never seen her before. Rumor has it, she's very young and beautiful. A girl with slow steps is wearing blue shoes and a blue dress. Suddenly, Vlad feels something is wrong. An announcement rings out Alicia Heinal is entering, and now he can see her face clearly. The sword also knows how to choose its words and says, now you have another crime of disrespecting the nobility. At this moment, he can only silently curse in his head. Damn it. Alicia Heinal approaches the chair in the center between two rows of people standing neatly on either side. She is escorted by a tall man from behind. When passing Vlad, she glances at him, startling him. Alicia's clear blue eyes make her gaze even sharper. Varna performs the ritual, bowing low to minimize his presence as much as possible. He panics inwardly. I'm dead. She recognized me. Alicia averts her gaze, not exposing him, and continues walking. She sits down on the throne, crossing her legs. Her sharp eyes exude a cold aura noble. When she is seated, a red-headed priest speaks up. Now we will begin the duel as all participants are present. May the gods bear witness for us, and let the sun be the proof of this duel. No one says a word to each other, but in their hearts, they all understand a life-or-death duel is about to begin. On one side are Alicia's subordinates, including Juber Shajad Duncan, and Jaeger facing the other side, Pablo Einstein, Siard, and Colin under Ender. All silently await the battle. A truly respectable battle, but also truly brutal. On the throne, symbolizing supreme power, stained with the blood of the Heinel family, the blood of a royal family member shines with a blue hue like the sea. Their veins are filled with responsibility and duty that a commoner with red blood could never bear. A white cloth is thrown out to signal surrender. However, Alicia is not yet ready to change the color of her own blood to blue. She angrily shouts, "Enough! Stop it for me now!" Duncan, covered in injuries, still tries to fight. However, a sound like a knockout blow rings out. We surrender. Even with a long wound on his forehead, struggling to speak, he still tries, "Not yet. This battle cannot end yet." The priest points to the white cloth Alicia just threw out. "Lord Duncan, your lord has decided to give up. Please accept defeat, sir." Siard, as if provoking Duncan, who hasn't accepted defeat. "Master, that last duel was truly excellent." Duncan closes his eyes, not wanting to look at him. He says sarcastically, "Am I still your master?" He looks at Siard, who is smug, his heart full of regret. "I raised you to be a warrior. A sturdy shield would protect the Heinal family. However, you became a sword that would kill its own master." Duncan grinds his teeth bitterly. How miserable. Siard looks proud upon hearing the priest announce the winner. The winner of this duel is Lord Ender's knight, Siard. Someone approaches Ender to congratulate him. A truly good start, Lord Ender. Ender hears this and looks smug. Need you say more? The next battle has arrived. Jaeger faces Colin. The referee's voice rings out. Next knight, please step forward. While Jaeger is cold and calm, Colin exudes an air of anticipation, underestimating his opponent. The referee continues to announce the rules. I will repeat this to clarify. The use of aura will be completely forbidden. The battle will end immediately if a contestant or master intends to surrender. Furthermore, the match will be stopped immediately if one of the two contestants is seriously injured. Before entering the battle, Jaeger turns his head to look back at Vlad. He points to his eye with the thought, "Watch and learn, you foolish little brat." Vlad is a bit startled to see that. Back to the battle, Jaeger raises his sword. His green eyes seem to glow. Today's lesson will take place here. Colin, with his tall frame, rushes forward, intending to strike down. Jaeger calmly faces him. The topic of today's lesson will be the pig standing before me. I'll take him down right away. As the sword slashes down, Jaeger gently dodges to the side. Colin shouts, "Use all your strength to strike down." Jaeger nimbly dodges and then counterattacks him. Jaeger maintains his usual cold expression. Colin starts to get tense but still acts arrogant. "I only miss by a little. I can win this battle." He rushes forward, swinging his sword towards Jaeger, but he only needs to gently step back to avoid it. Colin motivates himself, faster, stronger. Colin's relentless attacks are all gently avoided by Jaeger. While Jaeger is fully focused on defense, Colin charges forward recklessly. Ender and his subordinates outside are also smug. His strength is truly astonishing, just as rumored. He's cornering his opponent. Pablo stands behind, observing intently without a word. He seems to have discovered something. Corner. Don't they realize that the flow and rhythm of this duel are very strange? The one using that sword must have realized it by now. Colin is also starting to panic now. Damn it. Why can't I even touch him? Jaeger looks at him with a cold face. Oh dear. Colin loses patience. Angrily, he charges towards Jaeger and shouts, "You Bizitard!" While he charges forward to attack, Jaeger lowers himself and closes in on him. As Colin's blade's about to land, he quickly swings his sword up. Suddenly, the sound from the sword echoes in Vlad's mind. Look closely. Now what he wants to teach you is about to be revealed. Before Colin's sword could land, Jaeger rushed forward and slashed at him. Colin's eyes are full of disbelief, mixed with anger, while Jaeger maintains his usual cold demeanor. Colin's eyes are bloodshot. He lets out a soft cry. A second later, he steps back. Using all his strength, he swings his sword and charges forward. The battle is at a tense stage. The voice of the sword still echoes in Vlad's mind. That's it. Do you see it? He's making his opponent miss by countering the attacks. That skill is called a counterattack. After the opponent stops, Jaeger is still unharmed. Vlad begins to understand. Counterattack, an attack used to counter attacks from the enemy, using the enemy's own force to make them lose strength and create an opening. When the two swords hit the ground, the battle also stops. Jaeger coldly looks at his opponent kneeling before him. Colin no longer has his initial arrogance, only fear as he looks up at him. He belongs to a completely different level. Jaeger exudes immense power, making his opponent tremble. He stands there imposingly like a wall I can't overcome. Colin, completely convinced, bows his head and stammers, "I surrender." After the referee speaks, Alicia sighs in relief. The winner of this battle is Lady Alicia's knight, Lord Jaeger. Ender and his companions are extremely angry and disappointed upon hearing the result. Jaeger turns and leaves the battlefield. He approaches Vlad and asks, "Did you learn anything?" He smiles politely. "Yes, sir. I'm very grateful, sir." The final battle has arrived. Pablo Einstein faces Juber Shajad. The referee's voice rings out again. The final duel is about to begin. Pablo speaks first. "I am Pablo of Einstein." Juber maintains a disdainful expression and says, "No need for such a lengthy introduction. We've met before, haven't we?" Pablo says with a serious expression, "Pablo of Einstein." Seeing his opponent seems tense, he raises his hand to make peace and introduces Shajad of Juber. The sword from outside assesses with Vlad. It seems Alicia has found herself a strong piece. Pablo is on par with Colin. However, Juber is on a completely different level compared to the other two. Juber looks towards Alicia and Joseph. Alicia is momentarily startled, not understanding what he intends to do. A second later, he bows his head in farewell. At this moment, Joseph is also startled. He doesn't understand. Why is he bidding farewell like this? Next, he bows and then smirks, saying, "Ah, Juber of the Shajad family wishes to surrender this battle." Those words startled Alicia, Vlad, Jaeger, and Duncan. Joseph also loses his usual composure and frowns. Ender, benefiting from the outside, claps happily. He surrendered. If so, this duel is over. Isn't that right? Joseph can't help but be surprised. Does that mean from the beginning he already had 4 people on his side? Ender continues before his victory. "Now then swear before the gods. Swear to serve me, and only me before heaven and earth bear witness." Joseph suddenly speaks up, making him stop. This duel is not over yet. Ender maintains a disdainful expression as if kindly reminding Alicia's knight has surrendered. "I know your concerns, Joseph. However, this duel is over." Joseph remains calm. "This duel will not be considered over until I receive a satisfactory explanation." He seems to be trying to suppress himself, veins bulging on his hands. He asserts, "The Bayezid family will not accept the outcome of this duel like this.